Chapter 1. Love at First Sight. In a place known as Mustatafu, Japan, a boy was sitting on the sidewalk near a playground where the poor kid was beaten to a pulp by some bullies, wiping the tears that streamed down his face. Said boy had green hair, matching eyes and fair skin. He was wearing a white shirt, khaki shorts, and red shoes. "Why is Kakin always so mean? I thought we were friends." The boy sniffed, unable to keep himself from crying anymore. "It doesn't sound or look like he's your friend anymore." A female voice spoke up from his left, prompting him to turn and see a pale-skinned girl with short white hair and lavender eyes standing there. Her only attire was a white sundress and matching white shoes. The greenette looked at the girl in awe, stricken by her beauty. He continued to stare at her, his cheeks turning rosy before quickly looking down. "He wasn't always like that," he stated. "He only got that way because I don't have a quirk. He doesn't want me to overshadow him," he added. "It sounds like he has an inferiority complex." The girl mused, sitting down next to him. "Someone needs to knock him down a few pegs," she added. "Why, you don't need to do that," the boy told her, thinking she was going to beat him up. "Oh, I won't. I don't want to mess up my dress. My mother will kill me otherwise," the girl replied, brushing her dress down. "I'm Kagaya Usagi, by the way," she smiled. "Izuku Midoriya," the Viridian-haired boy replied, smiling back. Kagaya giggled as she noticed that Izuku's blush hadn't disappeared ever since they'd started talking. "Your face looks like a pink tomato," she chuckled. "It's actually kind of cute," she smiled. It's not my fault. It's yours for being so pretty," Izuku blurted before smacking his hands over his mouth, causing Kagaya to giggle at his embarrassment. "Well then, I suppose I should make up for that, shouldn't I?" the girl mused before leaning in and kissing him on the cheek. Izuku could only sputter in embarrassment while Kagaya laughed at his expense. This was the start of a long and fruitful friendship between them. Time skip. It was a couple months later and Izuku was once again trying to defend another kid from some bullies, this particular kid being one with a kitsune quirk that gave him a foxtail and ears, with the assailant being a Pomeranian blonde boy of a similar age with red eyes. The blonde boy in question also had two other boys with him, one with long straight hair and a liney smile, and a chubby boy who had a pair of dragon wings. "Why are you being such a bully, Kakin? You're making him cry," the green-haired boy questioned, his emotions beginning to build and build as the seconds ticked by. "Don't act like you can do anything without a quirk, Deku," the red-eyed Pomeranian boy shot back with a smirk. He then slammed his fist into his other hand, causing an explosion. "You're being such a jerk. Can't you see that?" The freckled lad shot back before his vision became blurry in aggravation and an innocent desire to try and appeal to his friend like the old times as tears ran down his face, causing him to shut his eyes before it slowly became clear again as he opened them. At the other boy's side, they looked at Izuku and noticed that his eyes were different from before. His viridian orbs now seemed to have changed color to a deep red and now had a dark ring around the pupil and also had two tomo marks around them, which looked similar to Kama's. "What the heck happened to your eyes?" the pudgy boy yelped in surprise. Izuku wasn't really sure what they were talking about, at least until the blonde smirked at him. "He'll tell you what happened. Dead last Deku over there just brought out his quirk," he exclaimed. "Let's put it to the test," he added as he threw a punch at the green being. Time seemed to slow for Izuku as his body seemed to react on its own, pivoting on the ball of his foot to dodge the explosion-packed right hook. He then followed it up by suddenly sending a very strong left hook to the blonde's face, causing him to stagger to the side as the long-haired boy tried to tackle him. But a clumsy backpedal, an unintentional trip later, and he was sent crashing into the leader of the trio onto the ground. The young boy flailed his arms around as he tried to get his footing from his balance and reactions being knocked off due to his enhanced perception, which caused him to grab onto the chubby boy's wings by accident as he swooped down at him, causing the two to pirouette out of control for a few seconds before the freckled tyke stopped and let go, causing the other boy to be sent flying face first into the two other boys as his course of direction and momentum resumed, making the three lay therein, a sore heap. The curly-haired lad stumbled around dizzily for a few seconds before he fell flat on his face, his eyes turning into swirling spirals from the dizziness. "I guess Deku isn't as useless as we thought," the explosive Pomeranian groaned. Looks like it, the other two boys said in unison. This ended up being what Kagaya was greeted with upon arriving, and she blinked when she saw the scene. Izuku, she gasped as she rushed over to her dear friend and cradled him in her lap. What happened here? Who did this to you? She questioned. NGH. Quirk came late. Tired. Izuku groaned, his vision still spinning. The girl was confused by this explanation before she remembered the other kids present and whipped her head around, glaring and growling at them as her eyes suddenly tensed and its veins became visible. This was her own quirk in effect, Byakugan, named after the Kekii Genkai of the same name. They'll break their fingers, she growled. Too late, the boys groaned before passing out. Looking at the bullies as well as Izuku, the veins around the white-haired girl's eyes faded away before she picked up her best friend and took him to the infirmary. Time skip. Mustafu, Japan, tattooing station, 10 years later. The same kid, who was now 10 years older, ran through the streets on his way to school, the same Pomeranian blonde hot on his heels, as the two smiled and laughed at each other as they ran. Damn it, Deku. How many times have I told you not to run in front of me? I always take point. The blonde called in a light-hearted but still gruff tone. This was Katsuki Bakugo, his quirk was explosion. This ability allowed him to make explosions by making the nitroglycerin sweat he produced blow up. Not my fault you can't keep up, Kakin. The green-haired boy called back. This is Izuku Midoriya. His quirk was called Sharingan. It gave him the ability to slow his perception of the world around him to react at a quicker speed and even copy their moves and even induce simple hallucinations. It also enhanced his strength slightly, though it's unclear if it has any other capabilities as of yet. As the kids ran to the train station, they saw a giant supervillain causing a commotion around the area. Luckily, though, the hero's dead arms, Backdraft, and Kamui Woods appeared on the scene to try and apprehend the near duel. Izuku activated his eyes and started committing the fight to memory. We're going to be late because of this. Katsuki grunted as he watched. Shoo, I want to watch Kamui and Backdraft so I can improve my wood and water release jutsus. The boy hissed. This was something of an unknown trick of Izuku's. Secretly, his eyes were actually a sacred bloodline ability known as a Kekii Genkai, a dojutsu that was thought to be long extinct. The techniques were the powers used by ninjas of the past to do incredible things by using one's chakra, and Izuku was descended by one of the legendary ninja clans, the Uchihas. When he realized what he really held, he began researching everything he could find on his ancestors. Suffice to say, he found a good amount that would provide him a stable starting point. First, he learned the Uchihas fire release techniques in less than 2 weeks of constant practice with Bakugo. Then he discovered he was also well adept at water release and most surprisingly was able to use wood release. That was a heritable chakra type that was the trademark of the Senju. After some genealogy research, he discovered that not only was he an Uchiha on his father's side, but he was also part Senju and Uzumaki on his mother's side. This made his body very durable and resilient and gave him accelerated healing and a natural aptitude for medical ninjutsu. He was also really good with the Interceptor Fist, which his friend always had a hard time getting past. Needless to say, the past 10 years have proved to the boy that he was definitely not the useless and defenseless kid his friends thought he was back then. Though he was still soft-spoken and not very imposing, though most just chalked it up to him having a kind and innocent nature. This earned him the nickname, the Leaf Green Ninja. Back with the boys, they were still watching the fight as Kamui started fighting the villain. As it escalated, he prepared to use his special move. Here it comes. Izuku grinned as his two-tomo Sharingan tracked every move. Come on, Kamui. Show that bastard what a real hero does to win. Katsuki yelled as well. Binding. He started. Lacquered chain prison. He, Kamui, and Izuku yelled as branches shot from the wooden man's arm towards the giant assailant. Canyon cannon. A female voice yelled suddenly. Bam! Before the branches could connect, a giant woman came out of nowhere and took him out in an instant. That caused the two boys to feel stumped. They were expecting Kamui Woods to take home the gold, for crying out loud. Hi everyone, I'm MT Lady, and I'm the newest hero on the block. she said with a flirtatious smile, a pop of her rather shapely but very attractive hips. So don't worry, you won't have to deal with this bum anymore. She smiled as she gave her ass a small shake when she said bum. Fan service? Bakugo asked blankly. Yup. Izuku nodded. You know, it's annoying how female heroes are so okay with flaunting their bodies like that. It gives us girls a serious stigma, a voice said beside them, causing the two boys to nearly leap out of their skins as they turned around and saw Kaguya standing next to them. Why do you keep doing that? Katsuki yelped. Kaguya had come a long way in terms of appearance since she was a child. She now had a body that was far more voluptuous than the average teenage girl. Her white hair was now so long that it reached her heart-shaped ass and even had red lipstick on. She was wearing the girls' uniform of the school they were heading to. She was actually called the most beautiful girl in the school and had many admirers. Oh, grow a pair, Katsuki. The girl scoffed, rolling her eyes. Good morning, Izuku, my love. She cooed, getting on her tiptoes and kissing the boy on the lips. Good morning to you, too, Kaguya, my beloved. Izuku sighed, holding her close. That's right, Izuku and Kaguya are a couple now. When they got into middle school together, they had practically all their classes together. This constant interaction was so maintained that they eventually fell for each other and got together. This got a lot of jealous looks towards Izuku from the boys for bagging such a catch. Katsuki, surprisingly, held no envy for the green-haired boy on that topic. Get a room, both of you. The blonde groaned. No, seriously. Go to a love hotel. I do not need to see you two constantly all over each other all day. He added. You'll understand the feeling if you get a girlfriend. Kaguya told him, resting her head on her boyfriend's shoulder. Bitch, please. The boy retorted, rolling his eyes. Let's just get on the train before you two start arguing. Izuku interjected, leading his girlfriend to the train station. Later, in the trio's classroom, the kids all sat in class and listened to their teacher talk. Now, since you'll be graduating this year, it's important that you think seriously about what you want to do with your lives. The man said, taking up a stack of papers. Now I could pass these career aptitude tests out. But why bother? He said before tossing them away. I know you all want to go to the hero track. He exclaimed as the class went crazy. Bakugo just smirked as he put his feet on his desk. Why bother? Me and Deku are the only real deals here. Don't lump us with these extras. He grunted. What? You think you're better than us, Katsuki? The kids yelled. Shut up, they'll take you all on. The blonde retorted. Ah yes, Bakugo, Midoriya, and Usagi. You three are heading for UA, right? The teacher asked. Indeed we are. Kaguya smirked. The national school? A student questioned in shock. But it has a 0.02% acceptance rate. It's impossible to get in. Another exclaimed. Is that supposed to stop us? The Pomeranian scoffed. We'll be more popular than All Might himself, and be the richest heroes of all time. And it all starts with UA High, he declared. That's assuming I let you take the #1 spot for yourself. Izuku called jokingly as he continued writing in a separate notebook. This one was navy blue with a paper fan below a red half circle on it. Is that a challenge? Bakugo shot back. Before their banter could continue, their teacher interrupted them. Boys. Kaguya sighed, rolling her eyes. Okay, settle down, you two. We still have class to do, he said as he turned to the board. Later, after class was over, everyone started packing up to go home. However, Izuku was busy writing in the same notebook from before. This wasn't his hero analysis notebook. This was instead his top secret, ninjutsu techniques, and Uchiha, Senju, Uzumaki clan restoration notebook. And right now he was busy trying to make notes on how he could possibly implement Kimui Wood's special move to improve up and even create new jutsus for his Wood release. This was interrupted, however, when Kaguya hugged him from behind while his notebook was promptly snatched by Katsuki. Really? Still working on this? He mused as he looked it over. You know how I am about this. I could actually get a degree in quirk analysis if I keep this up. Izuku told the boy as he turned towards Kaguya, pecking her on the lips. Wasn't talking about the analysis, Katsuki stated as he revealed the notebook he had swiped in, causing Izuku to realize that he had swapped his quirk analysis book with his restoration book and was waving the latter in front of the white-haired girl for her to take. Gimme that, you jackass! Izuku exclaimed, lunging at Katsuki only for the exploder to throw the notebook at Kagaya. The girl flipped through the notebook as soon as she got it, much to Izuku's horror, and her cheeks soon became a shade of pink as she read how Izuku had an entire section dedicated about how he was going to restore his bloodlines, with her as his centerpiece. Era, already thinking about the future that involves us being married, are you? She chuckled, right before she got to the part that said optimal number of children. The number she saw caused her head to nearly start steaming. 10. She gasped in shock. I want a big family. Izuku nearly wailed in embarrassment, covering his face in his hands while blocking out the sound of Katsuki's laughter. Well, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that, necessarily, the girl mused, her face still burning as she looked away. But how many would you want at first? She asked, hiding her blushing lips and cheeks behind the book. 2. Izuku squeaked. I think I can work with that. The Byakugan girl smiled gently, walking up to her boyfriend, pulling his hands from his face and kissing him on the lips. Would you like to get started after school? She offered with purr in his ear. The Uchiha boy gulped, unable to figure out a response. This caused Katsuki to start howling in laughter, unable to control himself as he rolled on the floor at the boy's reaction. Later, after he, Kagaya, and Bakugo parted ways, Izuku decided to take a shortcut underneath a bridge, though as he did, something seemed to weigh on him. I can't help but wonder, am I doomed to fall victim to the Uchiha's curse of hatred? He wondered to himself as he looked at the bracelet that was made of blue jade beads that had a charm of the clan crest on it. The curse he referred to was a common problem the Uchiha often faced, as they are people greatly devoted to love and friendship, yet they tend to conceal their more affectionate traits. When the object of their affection is lost, an Uchiha's love can instantaneously turn into hatred, leaving them more inclined to do anything and everything in their power to achieve their goals and show their own superiority, regardless of the consequences and repercussions of their actions. This actually tended to adversely affect their Sharingan, and unless something was done to intervene for them, this hatred would consume them. It was something Izuku worries about a lot. As he wandered in his own thoughts, he failed to notice a mass of sludge appear behind him. He was startled and reflexively activated his Sharingan as it forced its way down his throat. Good. You'll make a perfect skin suit, the sludge said before the boy suddenly disappeared and was replaced with a brick. What the? The creature gasped. That, Izuku said as he breathed heavily as he stood several feet away, his back to the exit, was a substitution jutsu. And this, he added before he made several hand seals before ending it in a Tora hand sign, is goodbye. Fire style, grand fireball jutsu. He yelled before he suddenly started breathing fire at the sludge. Gah! The thing yelped as he barely dodged the attack, feeling his body boil from the heat. I'm not done yet, Izuku said before he made a ram hand sign. Ninja art, multi-shadow clone jutsu. He intoned as 5 copies of himself appeared. Alright guys, let's fry this greaseball. Fire style, phoenix flower jutsu. The boy and his clones yelled before they started rapid fire spitting fireballs at the villain. Oh shit. The villain yelled in horror as the attacks hit. This seemed to make the guy start to run away, right into a mountain of a man who stood in the way of the exit. Have no fear, because I am here, he exclaimed before rearing his fist back. Texas smash. He yelled as he threw his fist forward, sending the villain all over the place and dispelling Izuku's clones in the process. Whoa. Izuku gasped as he anchored himself in place on the ground by focusing his chakra to the soles of his feet. When the gust of wind died down, he looked and saw All Might standing there, much to his shock and excitement. Holy crap, All Might, you're actually here, he gasped. Indeed I am, and I see that you held your own. He nodded, taking note of the burn marks around the tunnel. Yeah, I kinda went overboard. The boy nodded nervously. The two then started gathering up the sludge villain into a bottle, and All Might was even kind enough to sign Izuku's notebook. However, as the man jumped away, the Uchiha descendant realized that he forgot to ask him something important. Crap. He yelped as he used his chakra to allow him to run on the walls of nearby buildings and jump across rooftops. Hey All Might, hang on. There's something I forgot to ask you. He called to the man as he followed via roof hopping. What the dash? What question could be so important that you do this? He called back, surprised at what he was doing. He'll tell you once you land. You seem preoccupied at the moment, look out. The boy yelled at the man who was about to collide face first with a flock of pigeons as he landed on a nearby roof. Whoa, he yelled as the pigeons flew around him before he landed. Sometimes I hate putting up with birds when I fly to get to places. He muttered to himself before Izuku showed up. Now, your question was what? He asked. I don't suppose you've ever heard of the Uchiha clan? He asked. Yes, actually. They were an interesting clan, despite their curse of hatred. Why do you ask? The man asked, and his heart almost stopped when Izuku activated his Sharingan. That's. But then that means you're. He stammered in shock. Yep, I'm a descendant of the Uchiha clan along with the Senju and Uzumaki clans. Izuku nodded, shocking the man further. That is, Amaziah, the man said in shock before he suddenly clutched his side while his body convulsed in unseen pain and steam started pouring off his body. Oh no, All Might. The boy gasped as he ran up to the man. Are you okay? What's wrong? He asked frantically. The steam covered the number one hero's body for a moment before it cleared. Izuku wasn't ready for what greeted him. Instead of a muscular man, it was a bony skeletal blonde with a skeletal-looking face. All Might. The Uchiha descendant gasped as the man shakily plopped down. What would happen to you? He asked, still in near catatonic shock at the man's transformation. Well, you know how fat guys take a deep breath and pretend to be buff at the pool? I'm basically like that these days. He replied. What in the world even caused you to be like this to begin with? The ninja descendant questioned with wide eyes. I think it's best if I show you, the man said as he lifted his shirt, revealing a truly gruesome wound that looked like it was a hole that had been literally punched in the man's stomach and had been very poorly stitched up. The purple-red flesh looked absolutely horrible and made the lad want to vomit. This is how. I got this in a pretty grisly fight 5 years back. He explained. My stomach was completely torn out and my respiratory system was badly damaged. Now I can only work as a hero for about 3 hours at a time. Was that the fight against Toxic Chainsaw? The boy questioned. No, not that one. But good eye though. The man chuckled. But no, this fight was against an old enemy of mine. One that I did my best to keep under wraps, so that the symbol of peace can still stand. Izuku nodded as he sat down, before he started rummaging through his backpack. A few seconds later, he pulled out what looked to be a device similar to an injection pin, but had a purple liquid inside it. Here, the Viridian-haired ninja said, tossing the hero the device. He caught it and looked it over. What's this? He asked with a raised eyebrow. A healing elixir made from my blood. It has properties similar to Hashirama Senju's cells. Izuku explained. I'm not sure if it's potent enough to heal both your lungs and your stomach, but it should at least regrow your stomach. That way you can put on weight and hopefully take the strain off your body, if only just a little bit. He added, but be sure to take it in small doses, preferably twice a day for 2 weeks. My blood type is type O, so it should be compatible, but better safe than sorry. The hero looked at the elixir with wide eyes and back at the teen before him. He was content with going about his career as he was, and then this kid comes along and gives him this elixir. Thank you, young man. All Might said as he stowed the elixir away. Now, back to your question. He continued. Oh, right. Izuku nodded before sighing. All Might, do you think it's possible for a guy like me to become a hero, even with my clan's heretical curse? He asked. All Might saw where he was coming from, and also saw his concerns. He knew how to set him at ease. If you can stay true to yourself, I believe that you can escape its grasp. Do that, and you'll have freed your clan from the curse, he said. I see. Izuku nodded as he stood up. Thank you, All Might. You're quite welcome, young man. And good luck, the hero replied. Izuku nodded as he then started leaping from building to building before landing on the street and continuing his walk home. Later, as he continued his walk, Izuku thought about what All Might had told him. Was it that simple? Could he shut out hatred by staying true to himself? It sounded so easy on paper. As the Green Leaf Ninja continued to ruminate on this issue while he made his way home, a sudden explosion that occurred nearby took his attention away from his meanderings as he went to investigate the source. "What was that?" he exclaimed as he raced to the scene. As he kept running, he saw a large amount of smoke, and when he got to the source, his eyes widened in horror when he saw the same sludge villain from before trying to grab someone. Kagaya. "Wait, I thought All Might." "Wait," Izuku said before remembering the pigeons. He must have dropped the bottle when they crashed into him. He gasped, "And he's used up all his energy. It's too risky. I need to stop this guy before Kagaya gets seriously hurt." The boy said resolutely as he rummaged in his back and pulled out a marker and a bag of shuriken. Using the marker, he quickly drew the symbol for Woodvu on his palm and strapped the shuriken to his waist. Next, he set his back down, and without even thinking, he ran headlong into the fray, making several hand seals as dead arms yelled at him. Izuku fist threw 2 shuriken at the creature's eyes, causing him to loosen his grip on Kagaya and give her an opening. Wood release. Demon Maiden Wooden Dome. The boy yelled as he slammed his hand on the ground, and 6 wooden pillars rose from the ground and started closing around the sludge villain. The pillars also had cone-shaped spikes facing the creature, and the sight of this was enough to make him let his girlfriend go enough for the Watet to force herself free right as the dome started to close. "Damn, that was close." Kagaya cursed as he watched the dome close. "Thanks, sweetie. I owe you a kiss," she told her boyfriend. "Don't thank me yet. That dome won't hold him for long." "Look," the ninja told him as green ooze started coming through gaps in the wood. "We need a way to incapacitate him for the count. But I don't have anything on my person for that," he added. "Can't you just burn this creep?" the lavender-eyed beauty questioned. "Tried that already the first time. Plus it caused too much collateral damage," Izuku told her. "Damn it, if only I had a stronger jutsu, I could beat this guy. Like a water-style one or something," he continued before it hit him. "Got it. Kagaya, cover me," he called as he jumped back and started quickly making hand seals. The girl started throwing a series of jabs to keep the sludge villain distracted while Izuku went through hand seals for his plan. Ushi, Sarah, Ne, Ii, Tori, Ushi, Uma, Tori, Ne, Tora, Inu, Tora, Mi, Ushi, Hitsuchi, Mi, Ii, Hitsuchi, Ne, Jin, Sarah, Tori, Tatsu, Tori, Ushi, Uma, Hitsuchi, Tora, Mi, Ne, Sarah, Ui, Tatsu, Hitsuchi, Ne, Ushi, Sarah, Tori, Jin, Ne. Izuku repeated as he made the corresponding hand signs to the chants as both he and Bakugo tried to keep their distance. But they were running out of breathing room. Meanwhile, All Might was watching from the crowd. He clenched his fists as these 2 boys put their lives on the line to take this villain down while he was powerless due to his time limit. "I'm pathetic," the man thought in disgust. Meanwhile, back with the couple. "Torai," Izuku exclaimed as he made the final hand sign as he and Kagaya jumped behind a manhole cover that was between 2 storage drains that the villain was on top of. "Water style, water dragon jutsu," the boy yelled as the drains started to shake. The bystanders and heroes looked at the ground before water suddenly shot out of the drains and formed a giant eastern dragon with glowing yellow eyes. The construct let out a roar that echoed for miles before glaring down at the sludge villain, who now looked suitably nervous. The construct then roared as it crashed its jaws and massive body into the villain and sent it crashing into a nearby wall, splattering everywhere, and then reforming even bigger than before as it absorbed all the water. "Oh, come on," the 2 teens yelled angrily before Izuku fell to his knees and deactivated his Sharingan. "That's it, I'm out of chakra," he told his girlfriend before looking at the now massive villain. "And now we're screwed," he added. "Damn it, that should have diluted the bastard." The Byakugan user in frustration. "Apparently not," the boy said. All Might gritted his teeth. The young lad had bet everything on that one move, and it didn't work. "Have to do something," he growled as he forced himself to bulk up again before he rushed in just as the monster was about to strike the kids down. "Huh," the couple got out upon noticing the lack of pain. "I really am pathetic, aren't I?" the muscular hero mused as he blocked the attack. "I told you what it meant to be a hero, but now I see I wasn't living up to my own ideals," he yelled as blood came from his mouth. "Pros are always risking their lives for the sake of others," he yelled as he ready to punch. Detroit Smash. He roared as his punch tore through the villain and caused a tornado. Everyone covered their faces as the game force winds blew against them before it stopped. Then it suddenly started raining. Everyone sans All Might looked up as Kagaya hoisted Izuku's left arm over his shoulders since the latter of the two was spent. "Hey, Izuku, check it out. The weather just changed," Kagaya said as Izuku tiredly looked up while the crowd started rambling amongst themselves. "Huh, how about that?" he panted, wanting to just go to bed right now. The two were then swarmed by reporters until they parted ways to go home. Later, on his way home, Izuku bumped into a very familiar-looking skeleton man. "Huh, All Might, when do you get here?" the boy asked. "I just escaped the reporters," he replied. "Also, there's something I'd like to share with you, as a bit of compensation for trusting me with the knowledge of your heritage," he added with a serious look on his face. "That being?" the boy asked. "I've actually been on a long hunt for a successor, one that would take up my mantle as the symbol of peace one day when I'm gone," the man said. "And today, when I saw you jump in to save a life, even though you knew you were low on chakra and still didn't hesitate, you inspired me to act too. You acted like a true hero," he continued. "I refused to let my best friend die because of that sludge villain." Izuku nodded. "But beyond that, I've decided on something important," the blonde told him, arms outstretched. "I deem you worthy of my power. My quirk is yours to inherit," he stated. "Wait, inherit?" Izuku asked in confusion. Entrance exam. Shinobi no Kami Hashirama Rap by Rustage. Alderon District, Japan. In a district mostly known for hosting as a residence for the well-to-do families in the country of Japan of the superpowered world that planet Earth had become, the Usagi family stood out as on equal case. It wasn't because they had procured their riches through unsavory or illegal means, or that it was an abusive household, or even that the patriarch or matriarch's quirks were particularly noteworthy. No, nothing of that sort. Rather, it was the quirk of the family's only childa daughter that was the source of the Usagi's peculiarity in their particular community. The reason for that? The child was practically a carbon copy of Kagaya Otsutsukivan, having her own Byakugan. There were some initial suspicions of infidelity on the part of both parents, but a blood test quickly shut those down when the child was confirmed to be both of theirs. Confusion took the place of the previously present accusations, and left both parents wondering how their daughter turned out like she did. Still, they decided to go with it and named their daughter after the rabbit goddess herself, since they had a fairly good idea of how gorgeous she'd become in the future. Speaking of Kagaya, she was currently in the process of applying her usual red lipstick in her room when a voice called her from downstairs. "Kagaya, are you finished yet? Your breakfast is getting cold," a woman called from downstairs. "I just finished," Kagaya called back as she got her stuff together and raced downstairs. She was already in her uniform, so she didn't have any dressing up to do. "Honestly, hurry up or you'll be late." Her mother, Shinobu Usagi, sighed as she handed her daughter the plate containing her breakfast, which was a stack of Japanese pancakes with whipped cream and peaches. The woman wasn't too dissimilar to her daughter in terms of appearance, but rather than having white skin like her child, she had a fair complexion more common among Japanese women, with similar brow orbs like Kagaya, with raven black hair and brown eyes. She also wore red lipstick like her daughter. Her quirk, on the other hand, gave her a pair of rabbit ears and a tail, which were currently sticking out of her apron. But she was also quite the looker, as she had a figure had gotten her compared to Tsunade Senju on multiple occasions with her child-birthing hips, peach-shaped ass, and 106 centimeters E-cup rack. "Too bad I'm not part rabbit, or I'd be faster," Kagaya sighed as she started eating. "At least you still have your Byakugan." Shinobu shrugged. "You came in quite flustered yesterday after that sludge villain attack. Did something happen besides that I don't know about?" she asked, causing the girl to nearly choke on her coffee. "What?" she questioned. "Don't think I didn't notice." The woman smirked. "Now out with it. What happened?" she questioned. "Well, please don't freak out, but," the girl said before sighing, "Izuku told me that he wants to marry me and have 10 children with me," she explained. 10. Shinobu gasped, her jaw dropping as her eyes went wide. "Does that child want that big of a family?" he practically shouted. Kagaya could only nod. He made it very clear that he wanted to give me as many children as he possibly could, since I never had any little siblings to take care of. He wanted to help fill that void. She nodded. I swear, that boy is too good for this world. Shinobu chuckled, shaking her head in amusement. Well, that's what I was flustered about. Her daughter told her, blushing. Because I want to marry him just as badly, she exclaimed. Oh, sweetie. Her mom trailed off, pulling her into a hug. This must be gnawing away at you. She sighed. Kagaya could only nod in response. I wasn't sure if you'd approve. I don't want to do something that'll make you angry at me. She sniffed. I've known Izuku since he was a preschooler, and I know he wouldn't do anything you didn't want. Shinobu told her. I can tell he's not trying to be an uncaring fool, but rather, he just wants to help get what both of you want. She continued. So, you wouldn't mind us getting married? Her daughter asked. No, I can see clear as day that both of you would sooner disown yourselves and get married anyway than let us tear you both apart. The older woman replied. Mother, the girl sighed. Elsewhere. A little bit before this, right around the end of the previous day, Izuku looked at All Might in confusion after the man had just said that he deemed him, quote, worthy of his power and said that he could inherit his quirk. Huh, what do you mean by inherit? The boy asked. Now make no mistake, due to his research into the Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki clans as well as the ninja world overall, he was no stranger to the concept of inheriting certain kinds of bloodline techniques, Kekkei, Jinkai, even if you weren't a part of the clan it came from. Though the concept of doing the same with a quirk, this idea was completely alien to him, hence his current confusion. It's exactly what it sounds like. The man told him. It's a sacred torch passed down to me by someone else. He exclaimed. Wait, hold on. Izuku said. I mean, I'm well aware of Kekkei Jinkai being able to be passed on by gene splicing or implanting the eyes of dojutsu users into their eye sockets. But this is completely out of nowhere. Quirks aren't like Kekkei Jinkai, so they shouldn't be able to be passed on. He continued. As he continued to ramble, All Might began to feel a headache start to form. He's starting to overthink it. He thought as a bead of sweat rolled down the side of his head. Quit nerding out, he shouted, cutting off the boy's tangent. You'll have to adjust your knowledge and accept this new truth. My quirk is the only quirk in existence that can be passed along, and that's only one facet of its special abilities. Okay, but what's it called? The Uchiha descendant questioned. One for all. It's a stockpiling quirk that grows in power as it's passed along, growing in strength as its users improve it. The blonde explained. It is this power that allows me to be the symbol of peace, the truth behind my strength. But why would you want to pass a power like this on to someone like me? Izuku asked. I saw you back there. You acted like a real hero. Unsure if you could win, knowing that you could have been practically powerless, but still you and your friend pressed on, against impossible odds. You were the bravest of all on this day. The symbol of peace told him seriously. So what do you say? Do you accept? He asked. Without a second thought, Izuku nodded without hesitation. Excellent. Then we'll start training early Sunday morning. Be ready, the man told him. Right. The boy nodded. The next day, back to the present day, Kagaya was walking home after school that evening when she heard the sound of struggling coming from a local beach spot turned dump site, Dagoba Beach. Raising an eyebrow, she went to have a look and blinked when she saw Izuku pulling trash along with All Might of all people supervising him. Kagaya, being the curious girlfriend she is, decided to investigate. Hey, it's pretty comfy here on this fridge. How are you doing down there? The man called from his kitchen appliance perch as Izuku continued to struggle with it. People move these every day, you know? And most of them don't have any super strength. He added, throwing shade at his pupil. Yeah, but I've got an extra 600 pounds sitting on the one I'm pulling. The boy panted as he tried to catch his breath. Nah, I've lost weight, so I'm down 560 these days. In this form at least. But, thanks to your healing capsules, I should be able to eat and get that back. The man replied. Great, much better. Izuku sighed as he got back up. Why am I even lugging this stuff around again? He asked. I did some online research and found out that this place used to be beautiful. But then people started dumping their garbage here and ruined it. The man explained. So, Your training will also double as community service in a sense. He added, huh, practical and good use of hero work training. Nice, the boy noted. But how am I going to clear all this in 10 months? He asked as he looked at all the trash. Not to worry. I've got you covered with my aim to pass. American Dream Plan. The man said as he handed the boy a stack of papers. Follow this to the letter and you'll finish everything in the 10-month time frame. I even planned everything else while I was at it. He continued. Whoa, even my sleep is scheduled. Izuku noted in surprise. If I'm being honest, this is going to be super hard. Think you're up to it? The symbol of peace asked. You know it. Izuku nodded before looking at the schedule and noticed something. No chakra training? I guess it wouldn't make sense if you handled that, given your lack of experience in the shinobi arts. He mused. That's actually it. I figured I'd let you handle that part on your own since I don't know anything about chakra training, really. All Might admitted. Then he noticed Kaguya walking up to them. Oh, hello there. He greeted, causing Izuku to notice his girlfriend approaching. Oh, hi Kaguya. Izuku smiled, delighted to see his girlfriend. What's going on here, if I may ask? The pale-skinned girl asked. Oh, All Might's helping me get ready for the entrance exam. The boy replied. I actually offered to bring Kakin along, since he could have helped with the chakra training, but he trailed off as he remembered the conversation from that afternoon. Flashback. In an abandoned part of town, Izuku and Katsuki were currently sparring to practice for the UA entrance exam, and the blonde had something he wanted to show his friend. Explosion style, C4 barrage, the red-eyed lad said as he made several hand signs before spitting a glob of clay into his hands and covering it in both chakra and the sweat that gave him his quirk, before hurling it at Izuku, which split into several pieces and blew up in his face when they reached point-blank range. Damn, you're getting better with your explosion release. Izuku grunted as he staggered back from the blast. Yeah, I gotta say, with moves like this you'll probably have a way to fight with no risk and have something to fall back on in the winter. Katsuki nodded, knowing how difficult his quirk was to use in the winter months. Yeah, Izuku nodded as he sat down on a broken slab of concrete, and his friend joined him as well. So, All Might approached me yesterday. He offered to train me for the UA entrance exams. He said after a minute of silence. Seriously? The Pomeranian asked in surprise. Why? Did he see what you could do at the sludge villain incident? He added. That's probably it. I was going to ask if you could join us when we started tomorrow. That is, if you want to. His friend told him. Katsuki was quiet for a minute or two before he shook his head. No, I mean it sounds great, but if I'm going to get into UA, I wanted to be on my own. My way, he replied, before smirking. Besides, pretty sure you need it more than me, Deku. He added. I'm still pretty thin, aren't I? The green-haired boy mused as he looked at his thin arm. Pretty thin? You're about as thin as the twigs you make when you use wood release. Katsuki laughed. Oh, shut up. Izuku said flatly. Flashback end. So, yeah, Izuku finished, his mentor and girlfriend both sweat-dropping. Classic Katsuki, the girl thought, but this was brushed aside as she realized something. Then if you're going to be training here, does that mean you won't have time for me in the next 10 months? She questioned with a pout, her arms crossed under her DD-cup chest. Izuku immediately rushed up to her and pulled her into a hug. It's going to be a long 10 months, my beloved, but by the end of it, it'll be worth the wait. He told her, both of us will be even stronger than we are now, and we'll have a lot of lost time to make up for. So go and do what I'm doing. Get stronger. He continued, we'll do whatever you want when both of us are in UA. He finished. Whatever I want. Kaguya purred. Oh, I'll have a lot to do with you in 10 months, my dear. She told her boyfriend, before she leaned into her ear. So I suggest that you start stocking up on some good condoms. She purred softly, licking his ear with a saucy seductiveness. Why yes, dear. Izuku yelped, blushing profusely. That's a good future husband. She whispered with a chuckle as she leaned in and kissed him. Chew. She cooed as she kissed him deeply. All Might stood to the side awkwardly as he watched his trainee make out with his apparent girlfriend, contemplating if he should give them some privacy or try and get things back on track. His decision was made for him, apparently, when Kaguya pulled back and smiled at Izuku. Goodbye, Izuku. He'll be waiting, she told him. Izuku watched as his girlfriend left, a sigh escaping him. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that she was your girlfriend, right, young Midoriya? The symbol of peace noted, deflating once Kaguya was out of range. Yeah, and she's amazing. The boy sighed. Her name is Kaguya, Kaguya Usagi. He explained. She's practically a spitting image of the rabbit goddess herself. Her parents definitely knew what to expect. The man noted. Oh yeah, you have no idea how right you are on that front. Izuku told him with a chuckle before sighing in dismay. I just set myself up for a long 10 months. He lamented. At least you know it'll be worth it. All Might shrugged, trying to lighten the mood a bit. Yeah, but you have no idea how torturous not being able to spend a lot of time with your friends can be, especially a girlfriend. He nodded with a deep sigh. I kinda do. The man coughed lightly, recalling his younger days before he shook his head. But enough of that. Back to training. He exclaimed. Right. Izuku nodded. Time skip. About 3 months into this nightmare, Izuku was in the process of taking a shower at school during one of his break days and was currently getting himself something to drink after stepping out of said shower. Right now, all he had on was a pair of shorts, allowing his developing muscles to be seen. He was alone right now, however, or he should have been, rather. Found you. A voice cooed from behind him as he felt someone hug him and press a pair of round, soft orbs to his back. Couldn't resist the chance, could you? Izuku couldn't help but chuckle in spite of the blush on his face. I've had to go 3 months without being with you. Kaguya whined as she grabbed the boy and pushed him against the wall. It's made me want to kiss you so badly, she added with a pout. Then she started making out with him fiercely, Izuku unable to stop himself from kissing back with a moan since he missed this just as much as she did. But, given that they were in the school gym, he knew that it would be bad if they got caught. Kaguya, he moaned as he slowly pushed her back. We can't do this, at least not here. It'd be bad if we got caught, he told her. I hate it when you're serious about this. The pale-skinned beauty pouted, obviously hating that they had to stop. If I find myself with a day off, I know what we're doing. Izuku told his personal goddess, giving her ass a squeeze and getting a gasp of pleasure in return. Izuku, the girl gasped as she moaned when he did it again. What do you intend to do to me, then? If that's the case? She asked, catching on. I think he'll do a lot to you. He whispered huskily into her ear, the tone causing his girlfriend to blush heavily. I can't wait. She gasped before very reluctantly leaving. Time skip. 5 months after his training started, Izuku continued his work at a steady pace, using his days off to meditate and train his ninja skills with Katsuki while also doing his best to follow All Might's training regimen. Though he also tried to increase his workload little by little to try and complete his task early enough to have extra time for his ninja training as well as having some extra time for Kaguya. However, his pragmatic and good-natured determination to efficiency would soon come to bite him in the ass. As he and All Might were making their way through a park, the teen who was carrying a safe over his shoulder suddenly collapsed. His mentor stopped and looked back at him. Hey now? Don't stop, kid. You've only got 5 months left. What? You want to flush it down the toilet and take it easy? The man questioned as he looked at his student, noticing how overworked he was. Wait, you're overworked. You're doing more than what the plan states. That's going to have the opposite effect of what we want. You won't be able to pass the exam like this, he told him. His protege groaned as he shakily tried to get up. I don't want to pass. I want to excel. I will do whatever it takes to reach the top. He got out through gritted teeth as he looked up at his mentor, his third tomo appearing in the right side of his active Sharingan as it burned with determination. The symbol of peace looked at the boy in surprise as his strong emotions caused his Sharingan to evolve right in front of him. Gotta give it to the kid. He's given a lot of thought to the future. He thought as he went buff and picked the lad up by his collar. That fighting spirit's what I like about you, fanboy. It serves you well, he told his protege. I do get your concerns, but now is not to rush progress. Fear not. I can help you get back on track. Leave it to this old man to adjust your plan, he added. You're not an old man. All Might, the boy said weakly, making his mentor laugh. Later, Izuku sighed as he crashed on his bed so he could rest like All Might suggested he do, and while he began to fall asleep the door to his room opened. It was Kagaya. Taking one good look at her exhausted green-haired boyfriend, she decided to cuddle with him. Stripping down to where her pure white skin was completely devoid of clothing and she was left bare. Breathing deeply, the girl got under the blankets and held the boy close, and he didn't object. Not because he was too tired, but because this was something he felt he needed right now. Rolling over, he soon found himself with his face buried in his girlfriend's naked bosom, the snow-white globes like a pair of marshmallow pillows around his head. Kagaya, why are you naked? He questioned. You're my future husband, aren't you? Isn't it only natural that a husband sees his wife's naked body when they're in bed together? The girl questioned, holding him into her chest. Heh, fair enough. Izuku conceded, leaning in to kiss her. Kagaya did the same, and they rolled over once more, with Izuku on top and Kagaya on the bottom, and the boy shedding his own clothes so that he could feel his beloved's soft skin on his. You're so beautiful. He sighed as he looked down at her, both of their faces blushing as they were bathed in moonlight from the window. I love you, more than anything else in this world, he declared, kissing her again. Thank you for loving me so much. Kagaya sighed, rolling them both so she was on top and kissed him again. Everything is so perfect right now. Would you like to take my virginity? She asked, her hips in line with his as she sat in his lap. Lucky us, I have this, Izuku replied, holding up a strip of 6 condoms. He decided that now was the time, and he was going to seize the chance. Well then, the girl mused as she unpacked one and stuck it on her tongue. Itadakamasu, she moaned as she dove down to the boy's pelvis, causing him to moan. Kaguya, he moaned in bliss. He was going to be in for a wild ride tonight. Time skip. It was the day of the exam, and All Might let out a sigh as he got out of his car, looking a bit better thanks to Izuku's healing capsules allowing him to enjoy food again. As he headed to the beach, he stopped when he heard the telltale voice of his student yelling. Going closer, he spotted him standing atop a mountainous pile of garbage. Hey! The boy yelled as he stood atop the proof of his hard work, snot dripping down his nose from the cold due to him currently being shirtless. Holy crap, kid, you cleaned up this entire beach. The man breathed as he looked at the beach, which looked like it was never filthy to begin with. You even got the trash outside the designated area. You did this with only a few minutes to spare, and you've completely exceeded my expectations. He continued with wide eyes. Holy stinking, super crap, he exclaimed, going buff from shock and amazement. Izuku wobbled slightly before he fell off the mountain of trash and into his mentor's arms as he caught him. I did it, All Might, the boy said, his left Sharingan now having its 3rd tomo. Yeah, you did good, kid. I expected you to finish, but this is beyond. All Might nodded as he set him down. I mean, look at yourself. Such improvement. I'm quite sure that your ancestors would be quite proud of how far you've come. He added as he looked at the boy's newly improved physique. Needless to say, the boy was jacked. Gone was his thin body, and in its place was a well-chiseled runner's body with a 6-pack. He had come a long way indeed. I really worked hard, harder than I ever have. The boy nodded as tears flowed down his face. Great-grandfather Sasuke, great-grandmother Tsunade, great-aunt Karen, ancestor Madara, Hashirama, Tobirama. I did it, he whispered to himself. All Might couldn't help but smile at his pupil taking such pride in the work he did. Plucking a hair from his head. Now for your reward, he said as Izuku looked up. Eat this, he added. Huh, he uttered in confusion. In order to inherit One for All, you need to consume my DNA, the man explained. This isn't exactly how I imagined it, the boy protested. There's no time. Now hurry, or you'll be late for the exam. Now eat. Eat it, All Might said as he force-fed the boy as he screamed. Later. Izuku sighed as he walked towards the school campus, the Senju, Uzumaki, and Uchiha charms on his bracelet and backpack jingling in the cool breeze. URG, that was disgusting. He groaned as he continued to walk, and then saw Katsuki walking up beside him. Hey Kaken, he said. Hey Deku, ready to show the world that chakra's still awesome? The explosive teen asked with a smirk. Ready as he'll ever be. The boy nodded, before he felt someone collide with his back and hop onto his back, followed by the feeling of 2 very familiar soft globes pressing into his back. Hey, Kagaya. He sighed with a smile. Hello, my beloved ninja. The white-haired girl purred into her lover's ear. You two seem different. The blonde noted as they continued walking. We couldn't wait for when we got into UA, and well, consummated our relationship. Izuku told him awkwardly. You mean to tell me that you, little old lowly Deku, got your V-card swiped? Katsuki questioned incredulously before looking at Kagaya. By her the most popular girl in our crappy school? He continued. Bullshit. He added. Except it actually happened. Kagaya chirped. And I regret absolutely nothing. She added with a smile, kissing her lover's neck. This caused the boy to chuckle. Come on, let's hurry before. He told them, before he tripped over his own feet. Well, guess he'll just die. He thought as he fell forward. Though before he could hit the ground, he found himself floating, much to his confusion since he didn't know the third Tsuchikage's flight technique. Yes, he found out about that. He just couldn't figure out how to do it. Are you okay? A girl's voice asked, drawing his attention to its owner. Turning, he saw a brunette with pink cheeks. At present, she was dressed in winter clothes due to the cold weather. I hope you're not mad I used my quirk on you, but tripping on exam day sounds like bad luck to me. She added as Izuku got himself upright, allowing the girl to restore his gravity. Thanks. Izuku nodded as he dusted himself off, right before Kagaya hugged him tightly, pouting. Don't start staring at other girls you are off the market, she told him. I know. I can still make friends with other girls, though. Izuku chuckled, kissing his girlfriend on the lips. Oh, are you two dating? The girl questioned. Yes, I'm Kagaya Usagi, and this is my boyfriend, Izuku Midoriya. The white-haired girl nodded. Hi, Izuku waved. And the Pomeranian jerkwad over there is Katsuki Bakugo, Kagaya added, pointing at a now irate blonde. Oh, fuck off. Katsuki snapped in response. See what I mean? The pale-skinned girl asked rhetorically. Well, I'm Ochako Uraraka. The brunette smiled before sighing. Man, isn't this, like, way nerve-wracking? She questioned out of nerves. I find it won't be as bad if we just don't think about it. Izuku commented. It does make life easier, that's true. Kagaya nodded in agreement. I guess I'll take you up on that advice. Ochako chuckled before gasping. We're gonna be late, she exclaimed before rushing off. Let's move. The Pomeranian-haired teen barked as he took off running, Izuku and Kagaya right behind him. Later, in the auditorium, Izuku was finally able to find a seat with Katsuki and Kagaya again after leaving Ochako to find her assigned seat. Currently, they were listening to the voice hero, Present Mike, explain the exam, and in typical Izuku fashion, he was muttering many possible plans he could use to optimize his success while also minimizing the consumption of his albeit greatly increased chakra reserves. However, his idle ramblings were interrupted by a boy in glasses speaking up about something off on the pamphlet. Excuse me, he exclaimed as he stood. You failed to mention anything regarding the fourth opponent in these exams. If this is a mistake, then it is disgraceful. We are exemplary students, and we expect the best from the greatest institution in Japan, he stated. He then turned towards Izuku with a sharp glare. Additionally, you with the unkempt hair. You've been muttering this entire time. If you can't take this seriously, then leave. You're distracting the rest of us, he stated. Gee, I didn't know planning in advance was distracting, Izuku remarked, irritated at being called out. This remark got a chuckle out of Katsuki and caused Kagaya to stick her tongue out as Present Mike continued his explanation unimpeded from that point on. Later, after the written test, Izuku stood at his test site in the outfit he chose for the exam. This outfit consisted of a navy blue, short-sleeved shirt with a high collar and the Uchiha symbol on the back, white shorts, and white arm warmers. He also had on a pair of ninja sandals and had his Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki crest bracelets on his left arm. Additionally, he also had a kunai and shuriken pouch strapped to his left and right sides respectively. Lastly, he had a tsurugi sword strapped horizontally to his waist. It was fashioned after Sasuke Uchiha's. Taking a deep breath, he looked over all the other applicants and was honestly impressed. He definitely had his work cut out for him. Then he saw Ochako standing there getting herself ready. Deciding to go and wish her luck, he started walking towards her, only to stop when someone touched his shoulder. She looks like she's trying to get ready. Are you going to distract her too? The boy that called him out questioned. Izuku gave the boy a sideways glance, activating his Sharingan without thinking, which made the bespectacled lad back off. Those eyes. Don't tell me he's A? He thought in surprise. I was not going to distract her. I was simply going to wish her luck. Is that a problem? The green-haired teen questioned. No. My mistake. The bespectacled teen said apologetically. The other applicants took notice of the boy's attitude change and seemed confused by it, until Izuku turned around and they were allowed a brief glimpse of his Sharingan eyes before he blinked and put them away. Did you see that kid's eyes? One of the applicants whispered. I think so. I didn't get a solid look. Another whispered back. I swear I thought I saw the Sharingan for a sec. One of the other hopefuls whispered in shock. This does not look good, Izuku thought before Mike suddenly told them to get started, prompting him to start running. Okay, first up, Shadow Clone Jutsu. He yelled as he formed a hand sign and 5 clones appeared, who then used the body flicker jutsu to split up and cover more ground. He then proceeded to the main street, where a one-pointer greeted him. Izuku was quick to leap into action and drew his sword to slice its head off and move on. Off to the side, a blond boy with an odd-looking belt looked disappointed at being robbed of a point before heading elsewhere. All right, now where to bingo? The boy said as he spotted a cluster of 2-pointers standing in 2 lines down a side road. Leaping into the air and running up a building using chakra, he did a backflip and hurled 5 shuriken down on them. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. He called as the 5 turned to 10 and hit the bots in their weak areas as he landed behind them, and they blew up one by one. He smirked at his handiwork before he continued his prowl. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, at a different testing area, Kaguya was currently in the process of using her Byakugan and her own rendition of the Hyuga Gentle Fist technique to take down the robots in her area. Now, normally it wouldn't be effective to use such a taijutsu on robots. However, this was a completely different time period, so Kaguya devised a workaround, channel chakra into her hands to enhance her blows, which would make the test much easier. Or alternatively, shoot chakra at such a strong force that it causes damage to the robot's inner workings. It honestly depended on the type of robot to see what would work better. So far, the evidence speaks for itself as she managed to destroy a total of 11 one-pointers, 6 2-pointers, and 5 3-pointers, bringing her total to a respectable 38 points. If this is the entire test, then I think I'm good. She chuckled before spotting another cluster of one-pointers. Huh, easy pickings. She smiled as she rushed forward, Byakugan activating. Elsewhere. Observation room. Well, this batch looks promising, a female voice remarked. On the screen, it showed Kaguya doing backflips and crazy gymnast moves to dodge the robots before throwing shuriken at them while aiming with her Byakuganer, causing them to explode outwards with her gentle fists. On another, Bakugo beating the crap out of robots at close range with his Quirk and at long range with his explosion release, clay-coated Kimui Shuriken. Indeed, and don't call me a favoritist when I say that 2 in particular are already standing out from the rest. An intelligent voice commented as he focused on Izuku, Kaguya, and Katsuki due to their chakra abilities and Kekkei Genkai. This was because as he said this, Izuku's shadow clones were beating robots left and right with both fire, wood, water, and lightning release techniques, while the 5th was using strictly Kunai, and the main Izuku was using his newly evolved Sharingan to track his prey before striking them down. I can see what you mean. Are those abilities really what I think they are? A male Western-sounding voice asked as he looked at Izuku's progress. Real-life ninjas like in the days of old, this should be interesting. Another voice added. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, with Katsuki, he was currently sailing through the air as a particularly strong 3-pointer was targeting him. Skidding to the ground and digging his palms into the concrete, soon it became noticeable that the boy was chewing on something. One would think it was gum, but then he spat it out, and it was revealed to be clay. Exploding clay, specifically. Molding it with his hands, he then let it fly and allowed it to reveal itself as a clay dragon, which started shooting exploding clay from its mouth. The 3-pointer was immediately under fire from the clay construct, trying and failing to swat it out of the air as blasts hit various points on its chassis, including its servos. Nice job, little guy. Katsuki chuckled as the dragon landed on his arm right as the ground started to shake. As he looked around to see what was happening, applicants started running away from something. He wondered what the deal was before a shadow fell over him, causing him to look up and widen his eyes as he looked at the Titanic zero-pointer. Well, shit, he muttered, glad there was some kind of challenge present. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, with Kaguya, the girl struck a three-pointer in the head when it missed trying to punch her, causing its metal to bulge and explode from the inside. On to the next one. She smirked before shaking occurred, and other applicants started fleeing in terror, a shadow falling over her. This made her look up and see the zero-pointer standing taller than the buildings of the testing area. Ah, just what I need, a fresh practice dummy. She chuckled, grinning evilly as she got ready to attack. However, as she was about to use her Byakugan try and see where she could strike the robot to make it fall like a stack of dominoes, she saw that it was about to crush another applicant. Said applicant was a small boy with purple orbs for hair, and it seemed he made the foolish mistake of hurling these balls at the tracks of the robot, causing them to become stuck and it to lose its balance and start falling over. No, I'm too handsome to die. I still don't have a girlfriend, he cried in honestly pitiful terror. Handsome is the last word I'd use to describe you, Kaguya thought with a sweat drop before shaking her head. Guess I better save that pipsqueak. She sighed before rushing in. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, with Izuku, the zero-pointer in his area had just appeared right as he managed to get 60 hero points and released his shadow clones to get back his chakra. He was about to make a break for it when he heard something that caught his attention. Ah, someone help. I'm stuck, a familiar voice cried. Izuku turned his head and his eyes widened in alarm when he saw Ochako pinned under some rubble. Crap, he gasped as the robot's treads started heading towards her. Quickly, he activated his Sharingan and made a small pillar free her leg using Earth style, and then started making hand signs as she started crawling away. Wood style, wood golem jutsu, he yelled as he clapped his hands together. The ground immediately began to shake violently, forcing the other applicants to grab onto something to keep from falling over as a gigantic wooden statue of a demon with a dragon wrapped around its torso rose up from the ground. Using his chakra to leap onto its shoulder, the golem and robot glared at each other. The mechanical menace was the one to strike first, trying to throw a punch, but the golem dodged. This allowed the wood dragon to detach itself and coil around the bot like a snake. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, in the observation room, the judges were now on the edge of their seats. Holy crap, this is actually happening. We found a Senju, the female voice from before exclaimed in delight. I think that's the same boy from before. He must be from both families. The knowledgeable voice noted. That's the first I've seen of a wood-style move. Only ever read about it in books. No wonder Hashirama Senju was such a legendary figure. A deeper voice noted. And that girl there, an alluring voice mused. Doesn't she remind you of someone? She asked, pointing out Kaguya, who was darting away with the kid she rescued. As a matter of fact, she does. The other teachers nodded. Elsewhere. Back with Kaguya, she set her rescued victim down and was quick to leap back into the fray, intent on stopping the robot from crushing everything. Using her Byakugan, she identified a weak point on the faceplate that would help her end this quickly. Here we go, gentle fist, offensive, she exclaimed, striking the weak point and causing the robot to explode outward from the side and start falling in a different direction. Upon impacting the ground, a series of smaller explosions made it break apart, the debris covering the area. This display of power made the others look at her in awe. Did you see what she did? One of them exclaimed. Yeah, I did. It was out of this world. Another replied in shock. Wait a fucking minute. She looks like Kaguya Otsutsuki. A third pointed out with even greater shock. Please be my girlfriend. The shorty Kaguya saved pleaded as he rushed up to her. No, I'm off the market. The Witet deadpanned in reply, much to his dismay. Now get out of my way, she ordered as she kicked him out of the way, leaving the area. Elsewhere. Back with Izuku, he knew he had destroyed this thing before it could break free from the grip of his wood dragon. So he had his right hand merge with the right shoulder of his golem and started channeling one for all from his arm into the golem's, making its arm glow red. One Jutsu Quirk combo, ready to serve. Smaowash. Izuku roared as the golem's arm flew at the robot, destroying it and the area behind it due to the shockwave. However, this attack didn't come without consequences as the golem's arm was completely blown to splinters and the backlash that Izuku received completely wrecked his right arm and caused the wooden construct he stood on to start crumbling. Crap, I should have thought of a plan for this, he thought, cursing his lack of foresight. He should have known that the backlash would be severe. He shook his head. He could worry about that another time. He needed to figure out how to land safely. Quickly using wood style, he created a sturdy sling for his arm and then started thinking of ways to land, but was unable to execute them when a hand slapped him across the face and he suddenly started floating. It was Ochako. She saved him again. He gave her a surprised look as she released him from her quirk and started puking. Since his legs were still intact, he got up and walked over to one of his first friends in UA. "You okay?" he asked her, mentally smacking himself for asking something so dumb. "Yeah, just a little nauseous." She nodded as he helped her down and winced. "I think I broke my ankle," she said painfully. Izuku looked at her leg and contemplated giving her one of his healing pills, but decided against it since he didn't know her blood type. "Here, let me try and help," he told her as he weaved a one-handed hand sign and used his medical ninjutsu. Healing art, Senju Recovery Jutsu. He intoned as his palm glowed green, and he looked at her ankle with his Sharingan as he placed his hand on it. Ochako looked at him in awe as she felt her ankle heal. When it was done, she stood up and felt completely fine. "You're a genuine ninja. I can't believe it," she breathed. "Well, it's true. You saw that from the golem," Izuku told her, as he fell on his ass and deactivated his Sharingan, panting like mad. "And there goes the last of my chakra," he sighed. The other participants, meanwhile, regarded Izuku with shock and awe. "I can't believe it. That kid's a Senju," one uttered in amazement. "No, that can't be right. Didn't you see his eyes? He's obviously an Uchiha," another countered. "Hold on, didn't those two families die out over a century ago?" a third applicant questioned. "That doesn't mean they didn't leave any descendants behind. This guy must be from both families," a fourth exclaimed in realization. Meanwhile, the bespectacled boy from earlier was stunned. Senju and Uchiha blood flow within him. Incredible. He thought in awe before another thought occurred to him. But why now, though? Why is a chakra user surfacing now after all this time? He wondered, feeling perplexed. It was at this point that a short, elderly woman walked up to them and congratulated all of them on their work once the exam ended. And when she reached Izuku, she noticed his arm in its wooden box cast. It had already started healing due to his Hashirama-level regeneration. My, you got this hurt from your own quirk, sonny?" she asked. "Chalk it up to me being a late bloomer. Not much of a surprise," Izuku lied, keeping one for all secret in the process. "I'd heal myself, but unfortunately, I'm out of chakra," he told her. The woman hummed upon hearing that. "Ah, I see. Here, let me help with that," the woman said before her lips stretched out and kissed his arm, causing it to heal in seconds. Izuku was amazed before he suddenly felt slightly tired. "Oh geez," he groaned. "Thanks, recovery girl," he told her, finally recognizing her. "Why, you're most certainly welcome," she nodded as she continued to look after the other kids. Meanwhile, Ochako's gaze lingered on Izuku. She didn't know exactly why, but something seemed to interest her about him. Elsewhere, back with Katsuki. "Die, you fucking scrap heaps," he yelled with a giant crazed grin on his face as he flew around on his clay dragon as it blasted all of the smaller bots, while everyone else ran like hell to get away from the zero-pointer. Yeah, he was probably the one in the least amount of danger. Later, as Kagaya got ready to head home, she caught sight of Ochako heading somewhere else. This made her wonder what was up and decide to follow her. She did so for a few minutes until the girl reached present mic, prompting the white-haired girl to duck behind a wall so she could listen to their conversation. Excuse me," the brunette spoke up, getting the sound hero's attention. "Oh, need something, little listener?" he asked. "I was hoping I could talk to you about one of the boys who was testing with me," the brunette began. "It's the one with all the freckles and the curly hair," she continued. "The Uchiha Senju kid?" the hero clarified. "Yeah, him," Ochako nodded. Is it possible for me to give him some of my points? I feel like I made his waste a perfect opportunity to get more points to pass, and I want to make it up to him. She continued. Off to the side, Kagaya smiled when she heard this. It pleased her to know that her boyfriend had inspired people around him. Oh, don't worry your head, kiddo. He's just fine as he is. Present Mike assured her with a head pat. Oh, that's a relief. The girl sighed. This allowed her to finally leave the campus. But as she did, she couldn't seem to shake the feeling that she was being followed. As she neared the entrance to the campus, she couldn't take it anymore. Okay, whoever's following me, get out here already, she exclaimed as she turned around. But as soon as she turned around, someone got up close to her and slammed her against the wall, causing her to gasp as she regained herself and saw the porcelain, otherworldly, voluptuous vixen that was Kagaya staring down at her. I saw you heading to present Mike. She began. Basically, everyone's already left, so I got pretty curious about what was going on. Imagine my satisfaction when I find out that you wanted to help my boyfriend. She continued. Tell me, what exactly made you want to do that? She inquired. I don't know. I felt interested in him when he saved me. Plus he helped me. Why shouldn't I have helped him? Ochako blurted. Heh, fair enough. Kagaya chuckled as she released her. But if I know my boyfriend, he's gotten more than he needs to get into the hero course. He's definitely fine. She added. Well, you've certainly known him way longer than I have, so we'll take your word for it. Ochako shrugged. So long as we understand each other, I won't hold your interest in izuku against you, Kagaya told her, before she gave a very menacing look over her shoulder. But if you try to steal him from me, I won't hesitate to cut out the problem at its source. Understand? She warned. Why, yes, ma'am. The brunette squeaked in submission to her new superior. Good. The pale-skinned girl nodded in satisfaction before taking her leave. Later, Kagaya sighed as she hugged Izuku closely while they walked home. Well, now that the exams are over, what would you like to do next? The boy questioned. We can spend the week at either of our places while we wait for results to come in, Kagaya offered. Okay, and what do you propose we do while we wait? Izuku asked. I can think of a few things. The Wittet grinned. Plus, it has been a while since you last played shogi with my father. I'm sure he'd like to have a few games while we wait. She added. I could use that stimulus after all this time. Sure, we can stay at your place. The Viridian-haired teen smiled. Why do I get the feeling that you're just trying to get me cornered in your room so you can have your way with me? He questioned, his eyes moving towards her. Whatever do you mean? The girl asked innocently. Because that's exactly what you did last time. The Sharingan boy stated flatly. You liked it though. His girlfriend giggled, causing him to blush. Shut up. He grumbled as images of his nude girlfriend flashed in his mind. Later, Kagaya moaned as she and Izuku started making out the second they arrived at the girl's house, both of them unable to keep themselves from getting at each other after having to abstain for so long. What happened before was actually just foreplay. Finally, we can truly consummate our relationship. No foreplay, no anything else. Kagaya panted. Just you making me your woman, your personal goddess. She breathed, looking into her boyfriend's eyes. Won't your parents hear us? Izuku questioned. Why do you think I suggested we stay here? They're out of town for the week. She told him, pulling him into the house. You sly little minx. Izuku breathed as he started taking his clothes off, Kagaya doing the same. When they were done, they both drank in each other's appearances. For Kagaya, it was pretty obvious that Izuku had gotten beefier over the last 10 months. His muscles were nice and compact, perfect for shinobi work, and in her mind grinding meat on. For Izuku, it was glaringly clear that Kagaya had somehow gotten more voluptuous than before. She was still as lithe and nimble as before, but her overall beauty had increased. He didn't even know that was possible. You're beautiful, he gasped, still remembering when he got a full glance of her breasts and asked for the first time when she squeezed him dry with them months earlier. And you've gotten bigger, Kagaya purred, biting her nails as her cheeks flushed with arousal. Well, you have 6 options for where we can do this first. She told him. 1. Here in the hall. 2. In the living room on the couch. 3. On the kitchen counter. 4. In the bathroom. 5. In my bedroom. She began. What's number 6? Izuku asked, causing his beloved to give him a sly and almost invigorated grin as it spread on her red lipstick-painted face. "My parents' bedroom," she replied, holding up 6 fingers, with the 6th pointing up to said room. Izuku's body went still as he processed his options and considered where to rail his girlfriend, images of what all he could do in the various places flashing in his mind, before he dragged her to the master bedroom and threw her on the bed, causing her to squeal in excitement. "I want us to spend this week practicing on how to be husband and wife," the Viridian Uchiha descendant stated as he got into bed with her. "Starting with this," he continued, before holding up a silver ring with a gorgeous opal pearl as its centerpiece and lined with rubies, Kaguya, and Izuku's birthstones. "Wait, are you actually using this to propose to me so early?" Kaguya gasped in surprise and more than a little bit of hope. Izuku only leaned down towards her and grabbed her hand, their faces only inches apart. "As I recall, I believe I already made it clear that I intended to marry you," he told her. "So yes, I am proposing to you." "Your answer?" he asked. This caused the girl to tear up as she nodded, letting him slide the ring onto her finger. "Yes," she told him. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes," she exclaimed before kissing him again. They made out with extreme passion, both of them fighting for dominance before Kaguya won the tongue battle and was on top of him, ready to ride him like a cowgirl. "Are you ready for your goddess to take your virginity, my dear husband?" she purred. "Don't act so smug. They'll also be taking yours as well, my darling wife," he responded before he impaled her on himself and flipped her over. "You're mine now, Kaguya Usagi. Mine now and forever," he purred as she moaned. "Yes," was all she could manage as he took her. And so, a week of them practicing their married lives ensued. 1 week later. It was a week later, and Izuku was finally back at his house. He was currently having dinner with his mother, and he was in fairly high spirits. After all, he had managed to get 60 points in the exam at least, which would surely pass him. But he couldn't shake the feeling that his mother was mad at him. Inko Midoriya was a beautiful woman for one that was pushing 30, having a level of beauty and a figure that rivaled even Tsunade in her younger days. This was probably due to her bearing the boys' Senju and Uzumaki genes. Reason being because the glare she was giving him was boring a hole into his head as he ate his dinner. "You stayed at Kaguya's house," she began. "For a week. Doing the deed," she continued. The last part nearly caused him to choke. "I don't even remember mentioning that," he gasped. "How did you know?" he questioned. "Because you have a look in your eyes that says you did something with your girlfriend with no regrets," Inko told him, glare still in place. "I should know. I had it after I gave my virginity to your father," she added. "Mom," Izuku groaned. "Okay, yeah. I gave Kaguya my virginity and took hers in return. But it was one of her safe weeks. It's not like we did this without thinking," he told her. "In Shinobu and Yujimbo's bedroom?" Inko questioned with a deadpan. "How?" Izuku shouted with a jaw-drop look on his face. "Me and Hisashi actually did that with your grandparents' bedroom on my side." Inko shrugged, taking a reasonable amount of amusement in his reaction. "I guess it must be a Midoriya family fetish," she mused idly. "I don't even." Izuku sighed before tensing. "Wait," he said before looking at his mother. "Dad didn't propose to you right before he took your virginity, did he?" he questioned. "No, but he did do it the next morning." "Why?" the woman asked in reply, raising an eyebrow. "Other than feeling smug in one-upping you and Dad since I proposed to Kaguya before we went at it?" the boy asked rhetorically, now having a smug look on his face. "Nothing," he added impishly. A tick mark appeared on Inko's forehead before she held up a slipper, causing Izuku's eyes to widen in comical fear. "Come here, you cheeky little brat," she shouted as she lunged across the table, her son dodging the attempted attack. "Yikes," Izuku yelped as he stuck himself to the wall via wall walking. Inko, naturally, tried to swat at him as he jumped around the apartment to evade her blows. Later. A few hours passed from that point, and Inko soon rushed in with a letter from Yue, which Izuku quickly took to his room. As he opened the envelope, he found a piece of paper that showed his scores, and he noticed something he hadn't been privy to. He had 60 hero points and 60 rescue points, which placed him at 4th place in the exam. Only thing was, he had no idea what those were. It was then that a disc plopped on his desk and a projection appeared. "Booyah! I am here as a projection," All Might exclaimed as he appeared in a yellow suit, much to the boy's surprise. "What the? All Might? But this is from UA. Unless..." The ninja gasped as he started realizing what was going on as All Might started explaining things to him. Now, as you may have already surmised, you had something on your score besides hero points. These are rescue points, given to you by judges based on heroic acts. After all, a dedication to saving others is what makes a hero, he stated. And with those numbers you have passed the exam and have been accepted. He continued. Welcome, Izuku Midoriya, successor of the clans of old, to the Hero Academia. All Might smiled as he outstretched his hand. Izuku grinned giddily. Had done it. Had been accepted. He ran out of his room, and when his mother saw that giant grin, she instantly knew what happened, and the two laughed in delight. It was time to become a hero. Elsewhere, Kaguya sighed as she read over her letter, realizing that she got 50 hero points and 50 rescue points, with a perfect 100. It was a definite passing score, but she was more concerned about her newfound fiancé. She got shaken out of her thoughts when her phone rang, prompting her to look and see a text from Izuku. I passed. 120 points total. He told her. Kaken got 130. Apparently, he got more robots when everyone was running. He added, looks like the three of us are getting into the hero course. Kaguya texted back, a smile on her face. Yeah, can't wait. Izuku nodded. So, did your parents ever find out about what we did? He questioned. Yeah, they did. They saw the ring and figured out what happened. The girl replied, sighing a bit. They weren't too happy about it, but did at least tone it down since we cleaned up after ourselves. She added. Aw shit, here we go again, Izuku groaned. Inko found out too, didn't she? Kaguya's sweat dropped. Yeah, and I got a little too smug about one-upping her and Dad, which made her chase me around with a slipper. The Viridian-haired teen replied. Oh dear Lord. Kaguya laughed, trying not to fall over. After getting her laughter under control, she replied again. Well, at least we can say all three of us got into UA's hero course. See you on the first day, honey. Kiss emoji, the girl texted back. Watch it, unless you want me to manhandle you into next week the next time I see you. The boy warned her. Like when you manhandled me in my house's bathroom. Kaguya retorted. That's what I'm counting on. She added. Imagine that, multiplied by 10. Because he'll be using 10 shadow clones on you. He told her. This made Kaguya shiver in ecstasy, already envisioning herself getting railed by so many Izukus, in every hole, and probably multiple at the same time. It was an amazing image. I look forward to it, my husband. She told him, resigned to what he'd likely do to her. Sometimes I wonder if you have a kink for this sort of thing. Izuku remarked. Anyway, I'm going to bed. We have some pretty serious times ahead of us. Good night, my beloved. He continued. Good night, my love. I look forward to the day when we can finally share a bed together more permanently. Kaguya cooed as she put her phone down, before her hand drifted down to her stomach, her mind creating an image of it being swollen and growing with a child inside. She wished that time would go by faster so she could be at that point in her life. The point where she could become a mother. UA High. The kids this year sure look promising. Snipe noted as the teachers looked at the results of the exam. Yeah, the first place kid took out the rest of the villains while everyone else was panicking. Midnight noted, looking at Katsuki's footage. The second place kid isn't someone to sneeze at. She took out the 0-pointer with one well-placed palm strike. All Might commented as he took a look at Kaguya's performance. And then there's the third place kid. He's another to look out for, hats for sure. Powerloader noted. I mean, the Sharingan and Wood style are amazing enough, but apparently he can use advanced healing? That's rare. He added. Indeed. Having him as a hero will be a godsend for us and every other hero in the field. Nizu nodded in agreement. And also put a serious target on his back. All Might noted darkly. The girl too. He added. Yes, with beauty like hers I can see many people villains or otherwise wanting to use her for the purpose of bearing powerful offspring. Midnight grimaced. We better make sure they're both ready, then, Snipe stated, getting nods from the others. Off to the side, Someone else regarded Izuku and Kagaya with an analytical look. He wasn't quite sure what to make of them, but he did agree with Midnight about her comment on Kagaya. Elsewhere, Kagaya sighed blissfully as she fell back on her bed, her heart fluttering as she recalled her and Izuku's rehearsal honeymoon, her ring glittering on her finger. Oh, how I love that man. She sighed fondly, deciding that referring to Izuku as a simple boy was far too small a term for him, especially how Head made a woman out of her that week. And now they were about to enter UA together. She couldn't even say that she was happy, you could just tell. I wonder who we'll meet, she mused as she slowly fell asleep. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, with Izuku, All Might finally met up with him again. Congrats on getting in. The man smiled as he gave his student a high five. It was no picnic, but damn was it worth it. Izuku smirked. I also found out Kagaya got in too. That's the best info ever, really, he added with a chuckle. They'll be sure to tell Principal Nizu about your relationship, so you guys won't get pestered about it, the blonde told him. That would be appreciated, thank you. Izuku nodded in gratitude. Moving on, how did it feel to use One for All for the first time? The man asked. Like a lot of broken bones. The boy replied frankly. No, I mean the rush. What did that feel like? His teacher questioned. Like a lithium battery exploding after getting exposed to water, Izuku said after a moment of thought. That's pretty specific. You actually tried testing that? He questioned. Yes, and that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. The teen shivered, recalling how the battery in question did indeed explode. It was an experiment he had done 2 years ago out of curiosity to see if it was even true, and he found out the hard way that it was when it made the cup it was dropped into exploded almost like a grenade. He actually soiled himself out of shock. He swore to take that tidbit to the grave with him, but Kagaya found out anyway. Well, I think it'd be best if you tested what would be your safest limit before using it again, the number one hero told him. Agreed. Finding out in the heat of battle is a terrible idea. The Viridian-haired Uchiha nodded in agreement. But it is really going to take a while. He sighed. All Might mused as he leaned in to look at Izuku closer. All Might, why are you looking at me like that? The boy asked. Something seems different about you. The man mused. What are you talking about? The teenage shinobi asked as his mentor continued analyzing him. You and young Usagi, how far have you gone in your relationship? He asked. We had a rehearsal honeymoon over the week. We waited for the results to show up for each of us. Izuku admitted with a blush. And I proposed to her before we even started that, he added, causing the number one hero's jaw to drop in shock. That's not what I was expecting, he mused. Did you at least use protection? He asked. It was her safe week, but I don't think she'd want to use protection even if it wasn't. The boy sighed, deflating. Are you 100% sure she's not part rabbit or something? Tashinori had to ask with a sweat drop. Honestly, that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Izuku sighed. Her parents do have rabbit quirks, after all. He mused. That would do the job, wouldn't it? The hero shrugged. Anyway, you are right about the journey to mastering One for All being a long one, but once you get a grip on it. He trailed off, picking up a can and going buff. It's yours to command. He finished, crushing the can. I'll take your word for it. The shinobi nodded. Later, Izuku sighed as he made his way to school the next morning, and as he made his commute there, he couldn't help but think back to what All Might said. If Kagaya was like her parents and was very rabbit-like, how long would they be able to last before they found themselves having sex on school grounds? I'm not sure even school rules would be enough to stop her. If anything, they might just motivate her, he thought with a shiver. As he continued to think on this, he soon made his way to the school and heard a cacophony of wolf whistles and catcalls from various students at someone who was entering the front gates. Making his way through the crowd, he smiled when he saw his beloved girlfriend/fiancée waiting for him. Kagaya could only roll her eyes at all the attention she was getting. She had no interest in any of these pionch had a man, and he was the only man who could satisfy her. But her eyes soon lit up like a Christmas tree when she saw Izuku. Izuku, the girl cried happily as she ran to him and jumped into his arms. Oh, my beloved, you have no idea how much I missed you. She sighed, embracing him tightly. Ah, don't worry. We're never apart for that long, Sweetie. Izuku chuckled as he hugged her back, pointedly ignoring the jealous looks he got along with the mutters of that lucky bastard. But it isn't right. Kaguya whimpered. A wife shouldn't be separated from her husband for so long. She told him. That is true. The boy hummed. But enough of that. Let's get to class. He added, walking into the main building while his lover clinged to him the whole way. A bit later, the couple were now heading for their class, which was one they shared, thankfully. Okay, 1A, 1A. Where is it? The Viridian-haired Uchiha muttered as he looked at his schedule. It's right there, his girlfriend told him. Huh. The young man blinked before looking up at a massive door. What are the odds this door was made for people with large heights? He deadpanned. Pretty high, really. Kaguya deadpanned in reply. Well, time to get a good look at the class. She mused as she opened the door and was greeted by. Get your feet off that desk this instant. A voice Izuku recognized exclaimed. Huh, you're kidding me, right? Katsuki scoffed as the two entered the room. Just our luck. The two groaned. Many heroes sat at the desks, and I refuse to let you desecrate them by using them as footrests, you cretin. The blue-haired teen exclaimed in frustration. Did your old school put a stick up your ass? Or were you born with it? The blonde retorted. Wah. The teen gasped before catching himself. Let's start over. I'm Tenya Ida from the Semi-Private Academy. He continued, giving his name. Semi, huh? You must think you're better than me. The blonde laughed. I'm gonna enjoy tearing you a new one. He added, threatening a fellow classmate. Are you sure you're in the right class? Ida gasped. Trust us, he's sure. Kaguya told him, getting the attention of the whole class on her and Izuku. It's him. The bespectacled teen gasped before walking up to the Uchiha. Seems they have their eyes on you, my dear. The lilac-eyed girl purred into Izuku's ear, kissing his cheek. I can tell. Izuku chuckled. I'm sure you heard me give my name, so we'll skip to the point. I would like to apologize for my previous behavior toward you. Ida said as he bowed slightly. You must have seen something during the practical exam that I didn't, and that makes you a superior student. He continued. Superior? Hardly. I just did what I had to do. Izuku shrugged. But it would go a long way if you learned to pay heed to what others may be thinking in the future. He added. Got that right. Kaguya nodded as someone came behind them. Hey, I know those hairdos. A voice smiled, causing the two to turn around. Ochako. The white-skinned girl cheered as she hugged her friend tightly. Leave it to Kaguya to get ahead of everyone in making friends. Katsuki chuckled. Oh, I'm so glad we're in the same class. The girl smiled as she squeezed her friend's body. I can't believe you and Izuku are here, too. This is awesome. Ochako squeaked out through the hug. If you're just here to make friends, then you can pack up and leave now. A voice said from behind them. Looking, the teen saw a tired-looking man in a yellow sleeping bag. This made them rather creeped out. Well, except Kaguya, who wasn't impressed. Why is an angry caterpillar telling us off? She wondered. Do you even own a mirror? You don't look like you even want to be here anyway. She added, hands on her voluptuous hips. PFFFFFFT. Izuku and Katsuki snorted in amusement. Just shut up and take your seat. The man grunted as he got out of his sleeping bag and walked to the front of the class. Hello, everyone. I'm Shota Aizawa, your teacher. He added. He's our teacher. The class minus Izuku and Kaguya thought. Well, this is going to be annoying. Izuku thought flatly. Oh, lovely. A tired hobo caterpillar is our teacher. Kaguya thought just as flatly as her lover. Right, put these on and head outside. The man said as he pulled out some tracksuits from his sleeping bag. The students did the math equation meme in their heads at that. What is that thing, a sleeping bag of holding? Katsuki questioned. No idea. Kaguya shrugged in reply. Later. UA track field. What? A quirk assessment test? Everyone questioned in unison. But what about orientation? Kaguya questioned. Yeah, we'll miss it. Ochako added. Not important. Here at UA, we aren't tied to tradition. It's not spoken, but the Board of Education prohibited the use of quirks to keep things equal. It's irrational and won't last forever. The man said. So, we're going to be doing physical tests to see your possible potential as heroes. He added. Huh, that doesn't sound too bad. Izuku noted idly. Yeah, could be fun too. We could try to one-up each other. The pale-skinned beauty added. Like a competition? Sounds risky. Ochako admitted nervously. Don't get too comfortable. If I don't like the results, I may just end up getting rid of whoever's in last place. Their teacher told them, making the kids gulp. Let's begin, the man said before looking at Katsuki. Bakugo, what was your farthest softball throw? He questioned, causing him to think it over. Somewhere around 67 meters, I think. He replied. All right, try again with your quirk this time, Aizawa told him. And if you wish to use your explosion-style techniques to add to your results, you can. A rational hero should always use every tool in his arsenal. He added. Sure, the blonde said as he took a glob of clay before chewing on it, infusing it with his chakra before spitting it out and molding it around the ball and winding up. He'll add a little heat and drop their jaws, then send them flying. He grinned before throwing the ball and causing an explosion. Die, he yelled before making a few hand signs. Explosion style, C1 booster. He said as another explosion went off and sent the ball further, causing it to land way farther than it would have otherwise. Aizawa then held up his screen, showing that he threw the ball 1,008.9 meters. Well done, Kaken. Izuku nodded. Whoa, he threw it over a kilometer. A yellow-haired boy said in surprise. Naturally, Kagaya shrugged as the tests began. Minus 50-meter dash. The first test was a 50-meter dash, and so far everyone was getting decent scores. Himiko got 4.09 seconds while Ochako got 7.49 seconds. The last pair to go was Katsuki and Izuku, and the boy knew exactly how he wanted to tackle this test. Time for the body flicker jutsu, the Uchiha heir thought as he got ready. For 0.39 seconds. The robot recording their times said to Katsuki as he landed. My powers have the most uses out of everyone in this school, he said confidently. Izuku sighed as he made a hand sign. Ninja art, body flicker jutsu, he said before he then disappeared in a flicker of black lines. A moment later, he appeared at the finish line. 0.0001 seconds. The robot proclaimed, causing almost everyone to drop their jaws in total shock, including their teacher. What the fuck? A redhead yelled, voicing everyone's thoughts. So that's the D-rank body flicker technique, Momo noted. Quite an impressive feat for such a low-ranked move. She added. Grip strength test. Izuku channeled chakra into his hand as he gripped the device in his hand. He also decided to try adding a very small amount of one for all to the mix to increase his result. When he did, though, crack. He accidentally crushed it. This made everyone look at him in surprise, particularly Kagaya and Ochako, who just realized how much he must have been holding back when he hugged them earlier. Nice to see all that training you put in wasn't a waste, Kagaya remarked. Really, Deku? The Pomeranian bomber groaned in exasperation. The boy chuckled nervously as he sheepishly handed the broken device to Aizawa. Standing long jump. For this test, Tsuyu Azui, Katsuki, Kagaya, and Uraraka all made top scores on the jump. And when Izuku went up, he decided to copy what he had done at the grip strength test and send a small percentage of one for all 5% he guessed to his legs through his chakra points and sent chakra to his feet before lifting off and sailing clear across the field and beating out Kagaya's score, but being below Ochako and Katsuki. Can't beat 'em all, he muttered knowingly. Aizawa meanwhile watched him and noted that he wasn't using his Sharingan, and his usage of his bigger moves were non-existent. What's he doing? Is he saving his strength for the other tests? A rational strategy, but it's still flawed. He'd do better if he used his Sharingan, the man thought. He also seems to be keeping that other move in check. Something isn't adding up. He'll need to confront him about it soon. Repeated side steps. In this test, Izuku decided the best way to get a good score was to focus as much chakra as he could to do body flicker in rapid succession. It was a risky play, but he ended up succeeding and beating everyone else out in the challenge. Aizawa, meanwhile, took notice of this. The only person I know of from researching the ninja world that was able to use the body flicker like that was Shurshui Uchiha. Is he as strong as him? He wondered. Ball throw. It was time for the ball throw test, and it was Izuku's turn. As he walked to the circle, he thought about his plan for the test. I could make a wood release cast around my arm to absorb the backlash. and then my body will naturally heal quickly before the rest of the tests are done," he said to himself as he weighed his options. "It's a risky play, but it's the best I got," he added as he weaved a few more hand signs. "Wood style, wood armor," the boy intoned as he made his arm become encased in a wooden cast/gauntlet of some sort. "What's he doing?" Ochako wondered. "I'm not quite sure," Ida replied with a frown. Tossing the ball in his hand, he took a moment to get ready before channeling all of One for All into his arm with a chakra boost and readied himself to throw the ball. But as he did, he suddenly felt his power leave him. What just happened? He wondered, confused about why One for All left him suddenly. Then he slowly turned around, and the realization hit him. Aizawa was the hero he had based his ocular tricks on to try and get people into his Jinjutsu, Eraserhead. "Oh no," he said in a deflated manner. "I erased your irrational quirk," he told the boy, his eyes glowing red. "Someone like you shouldn't have been accepted here, regardless of your heritage," he continued scathingly. "Exactly why would that be, Eraserhead?" the boy questioned as he looked at the man, his Sharingan activating as they made eye contact. And not a second later, the man grabbed him and pulled him towards him with his scarf. "You can't control the full strength of your power. You can use it in small bursts, but that will only amount to a stopgap, run out of chakra to keep your techniques running, and you'll be a liability because you'll have to rely on a quirk you can't fully use," the hero stated. "That's my reasoning," he concluded, before Izuku suddenly disappeared and was replaced by one of the softballs. "And I thought you did your homework, Sensei. You should know the one rule when it comes to my bloodline," he said, drawing the man's attention to his position. "And that is..." He trailed off as he looked the teen in the eyes. "Big mistake. Don't look an active Sharingan user in the eyes," he replied, putting his teacher in a Jinjutsu. Without warning, Aizawa found himself in a void of green and black lines and was staring at a silhouette of Izuku before it burst into pink flames and started growing, forming a rib cage and other bones before skin appeared and light armor. The figure's white eye seemed to stare him down as it towered over him. The figure looked similar to the wood golem, but was made completely out of chakra and was wearing spiked samurai armor. It looked kinda like a new Susanoo variant. The titanic illusion continued to stare Aizawa down before it reached out its emerald-hued right hand and grabbed the man as he stood there scared stiff. It then rose him up to its face before staring at him for a minute or two. This is a Jinjutsu, and I fell for it," the man thought in shock before the Susanoo avatar opened its mouth and suddenly swallowed him whole, causing everything to go black. When the Jinjutsu ended, he let out a very startled scream and fell backwards, which caused the students to look at him oddly. His quirk's effect on Izuku also ended when the Jinjutsu did since he blinked afterwards. You okay there, Sensei?" Kagaya asked with a raised eyebrow as the man stood up, breathing shakily. "I'm fine. I just made the mistake of looking an active Sharingan user in the eyes," he replied as he tried to calm his nerves. "Finally, someone else gets it," Bakugo exclaimed as he threw his hands in the air. He himself had experienced Jinjutsu before, and it was never fun. Izuku decided to take his throw as All Might watched on. Flexing his wooden cast, he suddenly had an idea. Grinning, he took his ball and started throwing it with a chakra booster first, before channeling One for All into his finger at the last possible second, sending it flying into the air, so much so that it looked like Team Rocket when they were sent blasting off by Pikachu. Aizawa read his screen and saw that the ball was out of range, so it registered as infinity, the same as Ochako's score. Izuku then turned to Aizawa and held up his arm as his wooden cast crumbled to splinters, revealing his miraculously undamaged hand in defiance to his teacher as he clenched it into a fist. "Still think him a liability, Sensei?" he questioned with a suitably victorious grin. "This kid," Aizawa said in surprise as he grinned. However, Izuku's feat wasn't without consequences. He still had some bruising around his finger, and this show of strength caught Kagaya's attention and made that feeling of desire stir deep within her loins again. "So hot," she moaned mentally. He channeled One for All at the last second. "What the heck, young Midoriya? When did you go and get so cool?" All Might thought in amazement. "Whoa, nice." Ochako cheered as she and her friend obliterated the test. "He still has some bruising on his finger," He had the wood absorb most of the backlash this time, but still got injured. How strange, Ida noted. Katsuki, meanwhile, was in utter shock at what he just saw. That was not something from his Sharingan or his ninja skills. What the hell was that? He wondered with wide eyes. Besides his Sharingan and ninja skills, he should be completely quirkless. There's no way he could have gotten one now. He added angrily. Something doesn't add up. I'm getting to the bottom of this now? He thought as he started storming towards his friend and rival, explosions going off in his hands. Deku, he growled as he started stomping faster. What the hell did you just do, you bastard? He questioned as he was about to break into a full sprint. Though he didn't get far when Kagaya got in his way. Before he could react, he found himself in a headlock as she glared at him. If you threaten or try to hurt my fiancé again, he'll kill you, she whispered in a menacingly cute tone, causing the explosive teen to gulp at how serious she sounded. Everyone seemed shaken by what had just happened as the girl let Bakugo get back up, and then the rest of the tests went by with Izuku doing very decently. After that, it was time for the results, and they went as follows. Momo Yaoyorozu, Katsuki Bakugo, Shoto Todoroki, Izuku Midoriya, Kagaya Usagi, Tinya Ida, Ochako Uraraka, Fumikage Tokoyami, Mizo Shoji, Masahiro Ojiro, Eijiro Kirishima, Mina Ishido, Koji Koda, Rikido Sato, Tsuyu Azui, Yugo Aoyama, Hantasiro, Denki Kaminari, Kyokujiro, Toru Hagakure. And I was lying, no one's going home, Aizawa told them, shocking everyone. Huh, everyone except Momo and Izuku uttered. I figured as much. As a ninja, I learned to see through deception, the green-haired teen said, Momo nodding in agreement. I concur. I'm surprised the rest of you didn't figure it out. Guess one of us should have said something. She commented. Yeah, you should have. The other kids thought as Bakugo looked at Izuku. What is he hiding from me? He wondered to himself. Before I end things, Usagi, what was that remark about Midoriya being your fiancé? Aizawa questioned with a raised eyebrow, causing the rest of the class minus Izuku and Kagaya, obviously to blink and look at the couple in question. Exactly what it implies. The white-haired teenager smiled as she showed off her engagement ring. Wait, HUH. Katsuki shouted with wide eyes upon seeing the ring. Everyone else was shocked too, since two students being engaged so early was pretty much unheard of. We decided to get engaged during the week we waited for our exam results to show up. Izuku shrugged nonchalantly. Are you sure that's a smart idea? Ida questioned. Yes, that seems rather rushed. Momo commented in agreement. It's not rushed. Both of us have known each other since we were 4. The lavender-eyed girl interjected. We know each other well, we trust each other with our lives, and we know what we want. She continued. Plus, training to be a hero isn't unlike training to serve in any given military, so we need to make every moment count before we even graduate. She added further. That's very rational, actually. Aizawa blinked, realizing that she had hit the nail on the head perfectly. Well, we hope your lives are fulfilling. Momo nodded in acceptance, the rest of the class giving their own forms of agreement. Midoriya, congrats on getting with someone like Usagi. That's pure manliness. Kirishima exclaimed with a grin as he wrapped an arm around the Uchiha descendant's shoulder, Izuku merely chuckling in response. Meanwhile, Aizawa rounded a corner as All Might decided to confront him. Aizawa, that was a rotten move. The symbol of peace stated. All Might, so you were watching. The Erasure hero noted. Irrational deception. That's cute, but you're not exactly known for being lighthearted. The number 1 hero stated. I read your file. Last year you expelled an entire class of freshman students. You have no problem with kicking students out, anyone you deem unworthy. You were planning on sending the last place home. He continued. So that can only mean that you see the same potential in young Midoriya that I do. He grinned. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Who's to say? The tired-looking man shrugged. Either way, I learned that my quirk doesn't work on chakra and to never look an active Sharingan user in the eyes. He continued. A lesson learned the hard way, I see. All Might nodded. There's one thing though. Aizawa noted. Kagaya Usagi, I have a feeling that she may be as sex-crazy as Mirko. He stated. You're not the only one with that suspicion. The hero sighed. I don't think even the rules are going to be enough to stop her after a while. He added with a groan. Hormone pills might work, but I'm not sure. The erasure hero sighed. This is going to be a nightmare. He added. Later. After school ended, Izuku started walking home while letting out a yawn after getting checked on by Recovery Girl and being allowed to leave without having to be healed. Man, what a day. He sighed before he felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to see that it was Ida. Hey, Ida. He greeted. Hello, Midoriya. You're heading to the train station, correct? He inquired. Yeah, you? The boy nodded. Indeed. The bespectacled lad nodded as they walked together. Bakugo was nowhere to be seen because he didn't want to end up blowing up at Izuku, so he decided to distance himself so he could cool down. I must admit I did disapprove of Mr. Aizawa's teaching methods. But I trust the school's judgment. UA is the top program after all. Even so, lying is downright immoral. He stated, folding his arms. Maybe, but it could be some kind of hidden lesson to help us spot potential bluffs. Something like that could come in handy. Izuku pointed out. That would stand to reason. The speedster hummed thoughtfully. Hey, Ochako called as she ran up to them. Wait up, guys. I'll join you, she said, right as a cloud-white blur blew past them, and Tackle hugged her and Izuku. Yoo-hoo! Kagaya cheered as she squeezed her friends close. Don't forget about me. She smiled. I'd never forget about you, Kagaya? The gravity girl chuckled. Yeah, you can join us. Izuku nodded. The more the merrier, as they say. Ida added. Later. The sound of moaning could be heard as Izuku and Kagaya joined each other in a passionate embrace on the way to the boy's apartment, his mother being out of the house with the other parents of their neighborhood friend group. First in my house, now your apartment? You're getting creative. Kaguya breathed as they separated for air. Where would you like for us to make love? The boy purred as they entered the building. I've got plenty of options, he told her. Want to take this into Inko's room? The evidently rabbit-like girl grinned as they went into the Sharingan user's apartment. Just like we did for our practice honeymoon? You know me so well. Izuku smiled before picking her up and carrying her bridal style into his mother's room before setting her down so the two of them could strip. Today's test has made me so horny. I just want you to take me and manhandle me into next week. Kagaya told Izuku as the two rolled onto the bed, with her turning her back to Himbani like rear in the air. You know, I had a suspicion that you were part rabbit. Looks like I was right. Izuku chuckled as he mounted his lover. Hope you're ready to live up to that assumption. He growled as he nailed her and made her moan his name. All night long. A few days later at school, everyone was getting used to their new curriculum. Core classes in the mornings that included English, math, reading, art, science, social studies, etc. Lunch in the main cafeteria where the relatively cheap food was made by one of the best chefs in Japan, lunch rush. And then finally, in the afternoons, it was time for the most important class in the Hero course, Hero Basic Training. But this particular morning, during the newly acquainted class homeroom, everyone noticed something. Kagaya Usagi was walking with a very peculiar limp and had been for the past 3 days. You okay, Usagi? Kaminari asked with a few concerned blinks. Oh, I'm absolutely radiant. Kagaya breathed. But really, you guys don't have anything to worry about. She added. My legs are just asleep at the moment. She amended. The truth? She literally only just got the feeling back in her body from the waist down after Izuku had spent the previous night jackhammering her in his bed and then doing the exact same thing to her mouth this morning. In fact, she still had some evidence on her face. So what happened to your face is also nothing to be concerned about, Jiro asked. My face? The girl asked as Izuku entered the room and sat down, yawning. It's hard to make out, but there is something on it, Mina pointed out. Taking out a palm mirror, the girl quickly gave herself a look and noticed that some of her fiancé's essence was still on the side of her mouth. Oh, Kagaya blinked before taking a rag she had on her and wiped it off, her face turning pink. That's nothing you need to worry about. She deflected. Okay, those two have got to be banging, Mina whispered to the other girls. This made them blush, especially Jiro, given how she is. Momo, meanwhile, thought it rather scandalous for the engaged couple of the class to be so active. It was then that their teacher came in. "I am here," walking through the door like a normal human being. All Might exclaimed as he entered the room. "Whoa, it's All Might," Denki Kaminari exclaimed. "He really is going to be a teacher here. This is going to be awesome," Ijiro Kirishima added. "Isn't that his Silver Age costume he's wearing?" Sue asked. "Well, this will be entertaining," Kagaya grinned. "Welcome to the most important class in the UA High. Think of it as Hero 101. Here you will learn what it means to be a pro and what it means to fight in the name of good," the hero told them. "And this lesson will pull no punches," he added as he held up a card with fight on it. "Fight training," Bakugo said with a viscous smirk. "Now this is more like it," Kirishima said with a grin. "And one of the most important parts about being a hero is looking good," All Might exclaimed as he pressed a button and cases came from the wall. "Put these on and meet me at Training Ground Beta," he told them. Later. Training Ground Beta. All Might grinned as his students exited the tunnel. "They say clothes make the hero, and you, children, are the proof," he declared as he looked over the next generation. "From this day forward you are heroes in training," All Might added. "Now, shall we get started, you bunch of newbies?" Izuku came walking towards the group in his hero costume, which was similar to his entrance exam outfit, but had been dyed different colors by his mom. It was an emerald green, short-sleeved shirt with a high collar and the Uchiha symbol on the back, white shorts with a green stripe on the seam, and green arm warmers. He also has on a pair of green ninja sandals and had his Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki crest bracelets on his left arm. Lastly, he has a green ninja headband on whose plates swept up at the top corners to resemble small versions of All Might's hair and had the man's symbol on it. Kagaya, meanwhile, was wearing a black skin-tight suit with white lines going down her legs with white commas on mirroring sides, and she also had a cleavage window. She was also wearing a white kimono-inspired trench coat with red edges on the bottom of it, the edges of its sleeves, and a red collar edge. To complete the look, she was wearing a pair of white boots and a pair of gray fingerless gloves. "Wow, Kagaya, nice costume," Ochako smiled. She then turned around and looked at Izuku. "Hey, Deku," she smiled as she looked him over. The girl had started calling the three-clan heir Deku after hearing Katsuki call him that, though it was at first confused as to why given that it meant useless. However, she also noted that the name could also be read as "you can do it," which made the boy reconsider the nickname, given that his heritage's biggest slogan was to have a will of fire. Additionally, both Himiko and Ochako found the name very heroic and cute, so it also changed the paradigm of the name in Izuku's eyes. "Your costume is pretty good, too," she added. "I wasn't very specific with mine, and ended up with this skin-tight suit," she added as she blushed. "Is the cleavage window really necessary, though?" Momo questioned. "It seems like such a vulgar addition," she added. "I don't think you have any room to be talking," Kagaya retorted, twirling her shakujo staff. However, All Might gave his protégé a scrutinizing look as he noticed certain similarities to his own appearance and the boy's costume, particularly the headband and the fact that it looked like it had his symbol on it. "You're so obvious," the man said as he covered his mouth, trying to hold in his laughter. As they all gathered around, he spoke again. "Now that you're ready, it's time to start combat training," he stated. "Sir, this is the area where we held our exams. Are we doing urban combat again?" Ida spoke up. Izuku looked at the boy's costume and noticed that it was similar in appearance to that of Ingenium, the Turbo Hero. "I wonder why that is," Izuku wondered idly. "Not quite. I'm moving you 2 steps ahead," All Might replied. "Now, most of the fights you see on the news take place outside. However, statistically speaking, run-ins with the most dastardly evildoers take place indoors." He continued. "Think about it. Backroom deals, home invasions, secret underground lairs. Truly intelligent criminals work in the shadows." He added. "So for this exercise you will be doing 2-on-2 indoor battles." "Isn't that rather advanced?" Sue questioned. "The best experience is what you get on the battlefield," All Might replied. "But remember, you can't just punch a robot this time. You're dealing with actual people," he added. "Sir, will you be deciding who wins?" Momo asked. "How much can we hurt the other team?" Katsuki questioned. "Will we have to worry about someone being expelled like last time?" Ochako asked nervously. Will you be splitting us up based on chance or comparative skill? Ida asked, his hand raised. Is there a limit to what kind of weapons we can use? Izuku questioned as he examined one of his kunai knives. Isn't this cape Trei Chike? Aoyama asked, flashing his sparkly cape. I'm not done talking. The muscular man growled, shutting everyone up as he pulled out a script. The situation is this. The villains have holed up with a nuclear payload inside one of these buildings, and the heroes must stop them. The heroes can win by either capturing the evil doers or retrieving the weapon. Likewise, the villains win if they capture the heroes or protect their target. So basically an action movie setup. Okay, Himiko shrugged. Time is limited, so we'll be choosing teams by drawing lots. The symbol of peace said, holding up a box. Isn't this a little haphazard? Ida asked. Not exactly. Heroes sometimes have to team up with others from different agencies on the spot, so this is likely a reference to that. Izuku pointed out. Excellent point. All Might exclaimed as he pointed at Izuku. Now let's draw, he said as everyone drew their lots. Teams. Midoriya and Usagi. Todoroki and Shoji. Ida and Yaoyorozu. Bakugo and Uraraka. Aoyama and Ishido. Koda and Sato. Kaminari and Jiro. Azui and Tokoyami. Hagakure and Ojiro. Shiro and Kirishima. Fitting that the two of us would be a team. Kagaya purred as she held her fiancé. Why do I get the feeling that you'd use this as an opportunity to get back at me for this morning? The boy wondered, looking down at the girl. His lover said nothing, only giggling mischievously. That told Izuku everything he needed to know. Now, the first to fight will be these guys. The number one hero exclaimed as he held up a ball for A and D, meaning it was Izuku and Kagaya versus Katsuki and Ochako. Team A will be the heroes, Team D will be the villains. He guys, All Might declared as he held up an white A ball and a black D ball, causing the two teams to glance at each other. Oh no, Kagaya and Izuku groaned, both realizing that they would have to fight their respective best friends. Later, outside the building while Ochako and Katsuki were getting ready, Kagaya and Izuku were also getting ready. The young ninja was writing in his clan restoration notebook to help calm his nerves. Looking at the book, the brunette decided to ask about it. What's in that notebook? She inquired, causing her partner to stop and look at her. Oh, I'm just taking notes on ways I can improve and rebuild the Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki clans. Izuku explained. How do you plan to do that? She asked. Well, I did have a plan to take on multiple wives. The boy admitted shyly. But that was before I met you again in middle school. He amended. This made the rabbit girl tense up, wondering just who he had thought of including, but decided to save that for another time. Well, I'm glad that you ended up changing your mind, the girl told him. So am I. He smiled back. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, on the 6th floor, Ochako was sitting on a drum barrel and swinging her legs while Bakugo stood next to the fake rocket, arms folded and tapping his foot on the floor impatiently. You think Deku really has a quirk? He asked his temporary teammate. He could. There's also the possibility of him being a late bloomer, which would make sense if I looked at his quirk correctly. The girl replied, confusing Bakugo a little. What do you mean? He asked. If his quirk is a power stockpiling type like I think it is, then I think both of us know what would have happened if he got it when he was 4. The brunette explained with a shiver. That was an image she didn't want in her memory. Thank you very much. Bakugo was about to ask what she meant when an image of Izuku's body exploding formed in his head. It was actually gruesome enough to make him shiver. Okay, yeah, you win. Him being a late bloomer makes sense. He nodded. Then why are you so mad about it? Ochako asked. I'm not mad about him having a quirk. I'm mad about him not telling me. We've been best friends since we were kids. He told me everything back then. So, him keeping something like that from me just. Katsuki said before trailing off. Stings? The Infinity Girl asked. Something like that. The boy nodded. Himiko sighed as she laid on her back and stretched. Well, quirk or not, he is still one of the best guys I've ever met. And he's so sweet. Is it any wonder that he got a fiancé before the first day even began? She questioned incredulously. Touché, Bakugo admitted. But those two always had the hots for each other, so that doesn't surprise me. He shrugged. That's what I mean. It's good to have someone who can help you when you're in need of a hero. Ochako nodded. But that's made me wonder, who saves the heroes when they need saving? She questioned. That's who I want to be. She added. You know what? I like the way you think. The boy smirked. Think you can handle guarding the bomb? He asked. Oh, that'll be easy as pie. The girl grinned as she pulled out what looked to be a black and pink Captain America-like shield and cracked her knuckles. Let's get to work, she added as the match began. Izuku and Kagaya slinked their way into the building where their match was being held, ducking behind corners and watching blind spots to avoid being blindsided. The white-haired beauty was especially effective at being on the lookout given her Byakugan, so she could see through walls and call out any potential ambushers. Hey, watch that corner, Kagaya exclaimed as Katsuki suddenly came flying out of nowhere and nearly hitting the two with a large right hook. I got you, Izuku said as he held the girls in his arms, keeping her away from the explosion attack. Ready to fight, Deku? Katsuki challenged as the Viridian-haired boy set his fiancée down. Do you have a death wish? The boy questioned as his Sharingan came alive. Attacking my fiancée? Big mistake, he growled, reaching to grab his blunted Bakken. Is that supposed to scare me? The explosive boy scoffed. Yes, it is. Izuku snapped before looking at his beloved. Sweetie, go look for the bomb. I'll handle Kaken, he told her. Right. The girl nodded before she ran ahead. Ball's a move. You think you can take me on your own? The Pomeranian growled as he lunged at the boy, who dodged the attack and kicked him in the side into the sidewall. Fire style, fireball jutsu, Izuku exclaimed as he breathed his flames at the boy in front of him. Oh fuck. The bomber yelped as he got out of the way of the fire attack, just in time for it to hit where he was. Seconds later, a clay spider leapt from Katsuki's gauntlet and lashed itself onto Izuku's shoulder before self-detonating, sending the Uchiha descendant flying through the walls behind him. Oof. The Sharingan boy grunted as he crashed into the last wall. Well, I'm gonna feel that later, he remarked with a groan. Elsewhere. A sneak attack, Bakugo? What kind of a man pulls cheap crap like that? Kirishima growled. But Midoriya managed to keep himself and Usagi from getting hit. Zero noted. Yes, and young Bakugo is thinking like a villain since they like to use sneak attacks. Young Midoriya also had the reflexes to avoid the attack whilst keeping his partners safe. Take note, everyone. All Might told them. Elsewhere. Okay, now I'm getting seriously pissed. Izuku groaned as he got up. Wood style, deep forest emergence, he yelled, clapping his hands together. Then the building shook as trees started growing inside it, which made Katsuki have to struggle to maintain his balance as various parts of the floor were destroyed. Damn it, the explosion user yelped as he leapt back. Cut off. Shit, the blonde cursed as he looked around. He couldn't find a way around, which meant he'd have to waste some time blasting his way through. This left him feeling aggravated, since this would give Kagaya ample time to get her part done. This is not going our way, Katsuki groaned as he started blasting through the branches. Sorry, Izuku called as he went to regroup with his lover. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, in the observatory. Deep forest emergence. It's just as amazing as the story said, Momo said in awe. I don't think I'd want to get stuck in that mess. Kaminari nodded. Yeah, seems like an easy way to get lost. Zero hummed. The branches look very robust and sturdy, so Bakugo is going to be significantly delayed. Fumikage noted, seeing that the blonde bomber was going to be a while. Good strategy, I'd say. Jiro nodded. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, with Kagaya? So Ochako isn't quite as alert as one should be when guarding something. The lavender-eyed girl noted as she snuck into the room, seeing the brunette just staring off into space a bit. Well, no one said guard duty was fun. Okay, I'm bored. The brunette sighed as she caused the bomb to float as she sat on top of it, causing Kagaya to curse as she realized what her friend just did. She just made it harder for the Byakugan user to complete her objective, so unless her lover showed up to help, she was in a pickle. Of all the times to not know wall walking, the girl groaned. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, with Izuku. Izuku was one floor away from regrouping with Kagaya to end the match, but he soon stopped in his tracks when he heard something behind him. Turning, He saw that Katsuki had managed to catch up faster than he planned and was flying via explosions at him. As the blonde landed across from him, his gauntlets flashed red. "I'm all loaded up," he said, standing up, his body shimmering in nitro sweat. "You had the gauntlets designed to store up your sweat, didn't you?" The Uchiha descendant asked flatly, seeing what his explosive friend meant. "That's right. The more I save up, the stronger the blast, and blasting through those branches was a hefty workout." The red-eyed boy grinned as he primed his right gauntlet to fire. "And you think I'm just going to let you get me with such a blast?" Izuku questioned as he started moving his hand up to try and slip Katsuki into a genjutsu. It actually worked, and Katsuki suddenly saw a murder of crows flying around him, cawing loudly. "What the? Get the fuck away from me!" He yelled in panic as he tried to swat away at the imaginary corvids. In his present state, Izuku knocked him out. "That's better." The boy sighed as he started heading towards Kagaya again. But unseen to him were several clay spiders that hid themselves in his costume. Elsewhere, back with Kagaya, she was trying to get to the fake bomb, but was having a hard time since Ochako made it float out of her reach. This made the pale girl irritated since time was running out. "Well, isn't this just perfect?" Kagaya sighed as she tried to get the girl with her staff. "Sorry, Kagaya," Ochako called down to her. It was around that time that Izuku came into the room. "Okay, what's the situation?" he asked. "Ochako has the weapon out of reach. I can't get to it," the boy's fiancé replied. "They'll see what I can do about it." Izuku nodded slowly, before two familiar spiders popped out of his collar. "Son of a," he uttered. Boom. Then he was obscured by smoke, Kagaya coughing as she used a wind palm to force it all away, and saw Izuku was shirtless, albeit with a few minor burns. Best thing to happen in this whole lesson. She grinned appreciatively while Ochako blushed a bit. She knew Izuku was taken, but she was still a teenage girl who knew what an attractive male looked like. "URG, dang it, Kakin," the boy growled, right as even more spiders started popping out of every available hiding place, while the sound of clapping and walking could be heard coming their way. "You forgot about the capture tape, Deku." Katsuki smirked as he walked into view. "But that was actually impressive. I thought you'd be taken down by that one," he added with a nod. "And now you have me surrounded." The Uchiha sighed. "Well played," he muttered. "So, what happens now?" Ochako wondered as she continued sitting on the floating dummy bomb. "Now we wait for the clock to run out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The blonde replied before the buzzer sounded. "The villain team wins," All Might exclaimed over the speakers. "Well, this didn't go the way we planned." Kagaya sighed. "Yeah," Izuku nodded. Later. The MVP of this match is young Uraraka. Can anyone guess why? All Might questioned as he looked over his students. "Sir, I can," Momo replied as she stepped up. Midoriya, Usagi, and Bakugo didn't make many obvious mistakes, but they did slip up in not taking Uraraka's ability to keep the bomb out of reach. She continued, "Due in small part to me forgetting to invest training time in wall walking." Kagaya spoke up with a sigh. "If I knew that one, the match would have been ours." She added, "I would have done just that, had Kakin not jumped me." Izuku nodded. Uraraka, however, was able to stick to her role and kept the bomb out of reach for the whole match. Had things not gone the way they did, things would have been vastly different. Momo continued, "Let's not forget how Kakin had us pinned with all those boom spiders." Izuku nodded. "Yes, but that was a risky gambit given the hypothetical stakes. He took advantage of the fact that this was training. He didn't respect the spirit of the trial." Momo stated. "Piss off," the Pomeranian barked. That about sums it up." All Might nodded dumbly. Later. Izuku sighed as Kagaya leaned on him as the next matches began, the girl almost falling asleep as she listened to him. "I want to take a nap," she groaned tiredly. "I'm interested in seeing what our classmates are capable of." The boy nodded. The Sharingan boy did observe, and he learned that Shoji could use his quirk to mimic any body part, while Shoto had enough power to freeze an entire building. Momo could make whatever she wanted so long as she knew the structure of it, and Jiro could hear nearly anything with her earjacks. That was just the tip of the iceberg. These fights are making me wet, Kagaya whispered as the last fight began to wrap up. We'll head to a love hotel when the day is over, Izuku whispered back in reply. Katsuki, meanwhile, couldn't keep himself from feeling a little threatened by what he saw. When they were in middle school, Izuku was his only competition now. He wasn't so sure anymore. Later, as Izuku sat in his seat in class jotting down some notes, he failed to notice Katsuki taking an early leave. It was easy to get engrossed with what he was doing. Kagaya didn't notice because she was taking an interest in the fact that during the lessons, she saw several potential match-making opportunities, particularly Kaminari and Jiro. I'm thinking of grabbing something to eat after class. Want to come with? What kind of stuff do you like? Kaminari questioned. Bao buns and barbecue, Jiro replied. What about you? She questioned. Oh, I'm always down for a burger, the boy replied. Somehow that doesn't surprise me. The earphone girl nodded as Kagaya leaned in. Well, I happen to have a few coupons if you guys want some. The white-haired girl smiled, causing the two to jump. You what? The blonde yelped in surprise. Coupons. I got some to a barbecue place. Kagaya smiled, holding up said slips. Seriously? Sweet. Kaminari grinned as he took the coupons. Huh. These here perfect. He smiled. Hey, yeah. I've been wanting to get these exact coupons for a while. Jiro nodded. Glad I could be of assistance. The pale girl smiled in satisfaction. Izuku couldn't help but smile at her antics before he got up and decided to text Katsuki to see where he was. Meet me at the usual place later? He typed, sending the message to the blonde as he got up, bag in hand. Sure. I need someone to talk to anyway. Katsuki texted back. See you there later tomorrow morning. I got something I need to take care of. Izuku typed back as he gestured for Kagaya to follow him. Is it time? She asked with a grin. It is indeed time. Izuku confirmed with a smirk. Any special requests before we get there? He asked as they went to a love hotel. I want you to gangbang me with shadow clones. The girl replied. Gladly. The Sharingan user purred into her ear, causing his fiancée to shiver as they reached their destination and checked into a room. It was time to go buck wild in the bedroom. Izuku's apartment, morning. With a groan, Izuku's eyes blinked open as he came to after his romp with his fiancée. Glancing to his right at his clock, he saw that it was 6 in the morning. Hearing a sleepy hum on his left, he looked and saw Kagaya with a content smile on her face as he snuggled into him under the covers. This made the young man smile and blush a bit since he could feel her breasts pressing against him. Sadly, he knew they had to get up eventually. Kagaya, we need to get ready. Izuku yawned, shaking his fiancée gently. 5 more years. The young woman yawned as she buried her face in her lover's neck. I want to sleep more too, but we have school to worry about. The young man told her with a groan, shaking her more. With a groan, Kagaya woke up and looked at her lover groggily. Did you have to wake me up? She questioned with a yawn as she sat up and stretched, giving Izuku an eyeful of her rack. Not that he minded. Unfortunately, yes. Izuku groaned as he too sat up and stretched. We need to clean ourselves up, anyway, he added, getting to his feet. I seem to recall that you're the one who caused me to get my body so dirty. The white-haired girl sighed as she got up. Said the one who didn't complain one bit during that time. Izuku quipped as the two went to the bathroom, the young man giving his lover a spank as he walked. Ah, Kagaya yelped in surprise, jumping a bit. Then she gave her fiancé a playful glare. Do you really want to play this game? She questioned as she got the shower running at a comfortable temperature. Keep up the prissy attitude and I might just beat you at it. The shinobi retorted, grabbing her ass. Ooh, we'll show you. Kagaya smirked as she dragged her lover into the shower and started making out with him passionately. Of course, the two made sure to actually wash themselves and each other while this happened. Later, there was still time before the first class, so Izuku decided to meet Katsuki at their usual spot, which wouldn't be hard to get to UA from with a couple justice. Upon arriving, he found the bomber already there waiting for him. I didn't expect you for another half an hour, Katsuki remarked. Judging by the state of your clothes, you got freaky with Kagaya again? He questioned flatly. Yep, but then again, I can match her. Izuku shrugged in reply. What is it you wanted to talk about? If you're asking to meet here, it must be important. He questioned, getting to the spot in question. said Spot as one of the only lasting remnants of the shinobi era, a section of the Hokage compound that now stood like a stone against a mountain, the symbol of the land of fire embossed on the disk of sandstone. What was that move you pulled in the quirk assessment test? Last I checked, the Sharingan doesn't do that, and you don't have a quirk. The blonde replied. Izuku went silent as he glanced around to see if anyone was nearby. Seeing that they were alone, he decided it would help if he came clean. Can you keep a secret? This is about as sensitive as the Jinchuriki were back in the shinobi era. He told his friend seriously. What? Katsuki questioned. I technically have a quirk now, but it was transferred to me from someone else. Izuku explained. Transferred? That's not possible. There's been no evidence of that being a thing. The bomber said in denial. Oh, it is very real. The Uchiha descendant told him. If a quirk could be passed from person to person, would you want that to be public knowledge? He questioned. Katsuki, for his part, had nothing to answer with on that one. It made sense. If you found out your quirk could be passed down to someone of your choosing, then it was smart to keep it under wraps. If not, then you'd have villains coming after you ceaselessly. All right, you've made your point. He acknowledged. Could you even get it from, anyway? He asked. All might. Izuku replied, much to his friend's shock. What? He hissed wide eyes, just barely stopping himself from yelling. Yeah, I didn't expect it either. Izuku confessed, but I'm trusting you to take this secret to the grave. Don't make me regret telling you. He added with a stern glare. Friend or not, Izuku was taking this secret seriously and would make sure Katsuki understood how important this was. Yeah, I got it, the Pomeranian told him. Later. It was now time for homeroom to begin, and needless to say, things were going pretty sluggishly at this point. All right, time to go over the battle results. Aizawa began. Midoriya, Usagi, while your combat performance was admirable, the lack of long-reach abilities or gadgets is a factor in your loss. He commented. We're aware. We plan on learning the wall-walking technique when we have time. Kagaya stated, Izuku nodding in agreement. Okay, good. The underground hero nodded. Bakugo, setting up those clay spiders as a contingency in case Midoriya or Usagi got by you was a good call. Planning ahead is a valuable asset, he told the bomber. One shinobi practice is to always plan ahead. Katsuki stated with a nod, which his teacher returned. Uraraka, you keeping the bomb out of reach of your opponents was a smart strategy. Though expect that to be a one-off, Midoriya and Usagi will learn from this and fix their mistake, he told the brunette. Yes, sir. The brunette nodded. Now, this next activity will help decide your future, the Erasure hero told them. You need to pick a class representative, he told them. Cue the mad cacophony of teenagers that wanted the job for themselves, except for Izuku and Kagaya. Meh, politics aren't our thing, the couple remarked flatly in unison. It was then that Ida chimed in, deciding to propose that they should vote for their leader. He just wants us all to vote for him, Kagaya whispered to her lover, who nodded in agreement. But it's definitely the best way to settle things. Izuku nodded. Later. Not long after the vote, only like 10 minutes, Izuku was chosen as class rep somehow after getting 5 votes. Much to his ire since he very much literally said that politics weren't his thing. Momo was also his vice rep. Looks like nobody heard me over the noise earlier. The Uchiha descendant groaned, his right eyebrow twitching in irritation. You'll have to get used to it regardless, in retrospect, the rich girl told him with a shrug. True enough, I guess. Izuku sighed, but it was obvious he really didn't want the position. Okay, who voted for Deku? Katsuki deadpanned, knowing damn well how his childhood friend felt about politics. What? Did you honestly think that anyone would vote for you? Shiro questioned, causing Kagaya to snort. No, he didn't. Izuku just hates politics, she told the tape-armed teen. Honestly, I still want to give the job to someone else. Izuku sighed as he sat down. Only 2 votes. Ida lamented, dismayed by the outcome. Really should have voted for yourself, Ida, Kagaya told him. Later. Now in the cafeteria, Izuku had a grumpy look on his face as he ate some katsudon, while Kagaya tried to raise his spirits. Ochako and Ida could tell that Izuku was very much not thrilled with the position he found himself in. Why do you seem so angry about this? I'm sure you'll do fine. The bespectacled teen questioned. After all, you saw that there was more to the entrance exam. A rep needs that kind of insight. He added. Regardless, the fact remains I have no desire to be involved in anything political. Izuku grunted. It's something we both share. There are a lot of times where politics can screw people over, and that has soured our taste for anything in that field. Kagaya elaborated. Who did you vote for, Ida? You sounded like you really wanted to be the rep, Ochako noted. I mean, you do look the part. She added. It's because of the glasses, isn't it? The white-haired young woman teased with a smirk. Hey, outward appearances have nothing to do with that, Ida said indignantly before shaking his head. Besides, being qualified for a job and wanting it are two different things. My family's hero agency has taught me that much. He continued, getting the attention of his friends. Hero agency? Kagaya questioned. Wait, which hero agency is this? Izuku questioned. Forget I said anything. The teen gulped as he tried to dodge the topic, but judging by how intense their stares felt, that wasn't going to happen. All right, fine. He sighed. Tell me, how familiar are you with the turbo hero, Ingenium? He questioned. He's the 12th most popular hero with 48 sidekicks at his Tokyo agency. Izuku listed. Why? He asked. You know him or something? Kagaya asked. He's my older brother, the speedster revealed, much to the surprise of the others. Hold up, for real. Izuku gasped. Ingenium is an unmatched commander who honors the hero code. As the second eldest Ida's son, I strive to be just like him. Ida smiled. So I'm not the only one from a prominent family, I see. Kagaya hummed. Why didn't you say anything, Ida? Ochako wondered, not quite seeing the reason. I was worried that people would treat me differently if they knew about my family. The speedster sighed. You do realize that Kagaya is from a similar family in terms of status, right? Izuku questioned rhetorically with a raised eyebrow. Point taken. The blue-haired teen conceded. It's rather annoying, to be honest. Kagaya sighed, tossing her hair aside. I'm always getting so many lecherous looks from so many men that I couldn't care less about. She sighed. There's still a thing, even when it's blatantly clear that I'm her boyfriend and fiancé. Izuku groaned in exasperation. Wow, that bad? Ochako asked with a wince. A curse of being the most beautiful girl in school for so long, I suppose. Kagaya sighed. I don't see why so many guys are hung up on me specifically. I mean, there are plenty of attractive women in this school. She continued. Like you, Sue, Mina, Toru, and Momo, for example. She noted. Honestly, I'm quite shocked that there hasn't been at least a dozen men trying to get in bed with either of you. She added. I'm not even that good looking. Ochako yelped with a blush. Ochako, Kagaya deadpanned, her face not showing any amusement at the self-deprecating comment. I've seen what you look like sans clothing. Trust me when I say this. With an ample C-cup bosom like yours, paired with those long curvaceous legs, slender waist, full hourglass figure, luscious thighs, peach-shaped ass, and those wide child-ready hips of yours, you should have men falling over themselves to get you in bed. Plain and simple, she stated matter-of-factly. Trust her. She knows what she's talking about. Izuku piped up casually. It's honestly a travesty that you haven't been asked out yet. A travesty, I tell you. The Otsutsuki girl exclaimed in exasperation. Before anything could be said to that, the alarms suddenly started blaring. This caused most of the students in the cafeteria to start rushing for the exit. Ida, meanwhile, tried to get some answers. Hey, what's going on? He questioned a third-year student. This is a level 3 breach. This has never happened in the time I've been here. The student replied before rushing off. Oh fuck all kinds of duck. Kagaya groaned as the entire cafeteria turned into a stampede. Then they found themselves in the hall where things were even worse. The students were panicking over the breach and making a mad scramble for the exit, and it was causing some serious issues for a ton of others. Case in point, Izuku and Kagaya, who were struggling to stay close. Oh geez, this is turning into a total mob, Ochako exclaimed. Too late. It already has, Kagaya exclaimed as she was suddenly trampled by the stampeding students. Kagaya, Izuku cried in alarm as he tried to fight the current to get to her. What's causing this? Ida grunted as he was forced against a window. where he saw the press of all people outside. The press. Oh, for the love of. He groaned before turning and quickly spotted Ochako. Uraraka. Quickly. Make me float. He called over the mob as he reached out for her. On it. The brunette acknowledged, reaching out for Ida's hand and taking his gravity away. Immediately, the blue-haired teen floated and he locked his gaze on some pipes above the exit door. Orienting himself toward them, he activated his quirk and flew at them, while spinning like a wheel. The second he landed, he grabbed the pipes so he wouldn't fall and took a breath. Listen, he yelled as loudly as he could, causing the mob to stop and look at him. Keep calm. It's just the press outside. We are UA students, the best of the best, and we need to show that. He continued. Not to mention some of you jackasses trampled all over my fiancé. Izuku exploded from the crowd, causing a lot of them to jump from the anger in his voice as the green-haired teen pushed several upperclassmen off Kaguya, who was groaning in pain as he picked her up bridal style. Shame on every single one of you, letting your panic take over like this. Now look at what happened. You've injured one of your fellow students. He continued in a scolding tone, causing everyone to look down in shame. Then Izuku started making his way to the infirmary, the crowd parting for him like the Red Sea did for Moses. None of the students dared look Izuku in the eye. Later, an irate Izuku stood in front of the class, completely done with today. Everyone could tell that Izuku was taking what happened to Kaguya very personally. He'll be completely blunt with you guys. I think I just don't have the patience to be the class rep, the boy told his class. So, I've decided to pass the job along to Ida. He added. Are you absolutely sure about this? Aizawa questioned. Very. I'm sure you heard about my explosion in the crowd during the alarm from one of the others? The Viridian-haired teen questioned. I did. The man replied, narrowing his eyes in displeasure. He was far from happy when one of his students was injured by the frantic mob. What a bunch of irrational idiots. I assume it won't take long for Usagi to rejoin us? He questioned. According to Recovery Girl, she suffered some bruising and minor internal injuries. She can patch her up, but there's going to be some bruises she'll need to heal from on her own. The teen nodded, recalling the medical report Recovery Girl gave him. Understood. Aizawa nodded. That said, Ida, do you accept the role of class rep? He questioned, turning his attention to the speedster. Yes. Thank you, sir. I will endeavor to fulfill my duties as required. The bespectacled teen nodded with a bow. And thank you, Midoriya, for this opportunity. He added, bowing to his friend. No problem. The Viridian-haired teen nodded. Time skip. A couple of days later. Wait, why did you call us here before class? Izuku questioned as he and Kaguya were sat in Principal Nisa's office. Because something regarding the two of you specifically has come up. The Chimera, possibly an albino stoat, told them in reply. That being, Kaguya questioned as Nizu brought out a pair of pamphlets and handed them to the couple. You may want to have a look at these, Nisa told them. The power couple of Class 1A did so, and both of them became increasingly surprised and flustered by what they were reading. A hero dating program? Seriously? Kaguya squeaked. Wait, why are they looking at us specifically? Izuku asked. Because the HPSC see the chemistry between both of you. This, coupled with the fact you two are already engaged, has made them view you two as the ideal couple for promoting hero couples as a whole. Nizu explained in reply. I'm sensing something more to this, Izuku noted, spotting the hidden notion of this act. I won't lie that I also suspect that they're likely looking for the both of you to produce a number of possible children to stock the next generation. Nizu nodded. Well, we were already planning on 10 children over a period of time, Kaguya admitted. My word, you two must want quite the large family, Nizu noted with a surprised blink. It's part of my plan to bring back our clans. Izuku nodded. Well, I think it'd be best if you went ahead and gave it some thought, Nizu told him. But in the meantime, you two should get to class, he told the two. The two engaged students then left and headed to their homeroom. Along the way, they decided to talk about what they just learned. Kaguya, how do you feel about all this? Izuku asked his fiancée. Honestly, if the HPSC wants to sponsor us, then they're helping us with our love life. The young woman shrugged in reply. Especially since it basically means we can start our family sooner. she added with a purr in her voice that made a shiver go up Izuku's spine. Kagaya, the boy muttered with a warning tone, letting her know that he was dangerously close to manhandling her into next week. The young woman merely giggled as the two reached their homeroom and took their seats. Later. All right, today's training is going to be different. Specifically, it's rescue training, Aizawa told the class. Really? The class wondered. This lesson will be taught by myself, All Might, and another pro on an off-campus facility. The Erasure hero nodded. This should be interesting. Izuku hummed. Maybe I can get some water walking training in. He mused in his thoughts. Later. So, looks like we're going to be riding this open, Izuku noted as the students all loaded into a bus not long after. Apparently, Kagaya hummed with a nod as the two of them took seats next to one another. It wasn't long before they were underway. The bus layout ruined my boarding strategy, Ida lamented. Don't worry too much about it, Ida, Sato told him. If we're pointing out the obvious, then there's something I have to say, Sue noted. About you, actually, she said, looking at Izuku. What about me? The Uchiha boy asked with a raised eyebrow. You used a move in the Quirk assessment test. It was a lot like All Might's. The frog girl replied. Is it because you copied it? She asked. I did take some inspiration from him, I'll admit. Izuku shrugged in reply. But the Sharingan can't copy quirks, can it? Kirishima questioned. I'm not entirely sure what the limits are in this day and age. I'm keeping a lookout for signs of any change in the function of it. The Viridian-haired boy told him in response. That was a bit of a lie, since he needed to keep one for all hidden. Katsuki knew that, but kept his silence for obvious reasons. Must be pretty nice to have all that firepower, though. The redhead shrugged. My hardening is super strong and can destroy bad guys in a fight, but it's not all that flashy. He sighed. That's not all that true. Kagaya chimed in. You could act as a living barricade to protect civilians from things like gunfire, or harden your limbs to increase the damage your blows do. She continued, and it was clear that Izuku had rubbed off on her since that was very on point. Yeah, I think you'll make a great pro with a quirk like that. Izuku nodded. Really? Seems it'd be better if I had something flashier. The boy hummed. But if we're looking for the real pro quirks, it's Todoroki and Bakugo. He noted. Yeah, but with Bakugo's attitude, I don't see him being very popular. Sue commented, causing a tick mark to appear on Katsuki's forehead.